Senior brother, we've found it. Senior brother, we've found it. It's just as you said, those impossible missions that were close to a month and a half were all completed by Bailey Tianhai and the big guy beside him. In a luxurious courtyard in the outer court. Hearing this, Lin Yuan laughed coldly. Do you really want to turn the sky upside down? I've said it before, if you can enter the inner court, I'll give you my surname. Lin Yuan said coldly. Long Fei was already crippled, and turned into a vegetable. Now, only Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were left. Actually, compared to Long Fei, he was more worried about Bailey Tianhai, because his four-brain inherent skill was too strong. If he were to enter the inner sect, he would definitely be recognized by many elders. At that time, his position would soar to the heavens, and he might even become someone on side. He was not going to let this happen. Lin Yuan said, "Have you all gathered?" The disciple crossed his arms and said, "Yes, we are all here, and will follow your orders at any time." Lin Yuan smiled slightly and said, "Very good." Didn't he want to gather all his task credit to participate in the inner sect examination? Then I'll let you have no points at all. I'll let you know what despair is. Ha ha ha. Lin Yuan laughed loudly. Killing was worse than killing the heart. Killing Bailey Tianhai didn't bring him much pleasure, but it would be different if he made Bailey Tianhai fall into despair. He liked to see the despair of others. There was still half a month before the inner sect examination. If one didn't have enough points, they didn't have the qualifications to participate. When the time came, he could only foolishly watch others take the exam. The first year, Lin Yuan could do this. The second year, the third year. He would be able to do it every single year from now on, and he would definitely not allow Bailey Tianhai and the other two to step even half a step into the inner sec. I will completely crush you. South Heaven Gate. Right now, this place had already been broken through by Long Fei. As long as they could climb up to the South Heaven Gate, they could enter the second stage of the quest, the Heavenly Court. The second mission, seize the heavens. You have to kill everyone in the Heavenly Court in order to take it. Or something else. Over the past month, many disciples had not even been able to get a good idea of what was going on, much less provide a strategy for what to do. Everyone had to fumble their way in. There were no clues. Run. Run. Leave this place. Flee. A disciple of the ancient antiquity was rolling and crawling, his eyes were filled with fear, his entire person did not have the image of a warrior, he was so scared that his face was pale, and he rolled down the stairs. Zhao Dehan wanted to step forward to support him, but the moment the disciple saw Zhao Dehan, his body trembled even more uncontrollably, and he cried out, "Ah!" He jumped to the other side and quickly escaped. His entire being had become delirious. Zhao Dehan still had lingering fear in his heart as he said, "Second brother, what exactly is inside?" Bailey Tianhai's gaze tensed up, he had just observed the disciple carefully. The master swordsman rank, his cultivation was not weak, but the chi on his body could not even reach the level of a warrior, it was as though he was an untrained person. Trembling. All of his power was being suppressed. Bailey Tianhai looked at the door that was separated by a few pillars and said softly, "No matter what, we have to go in. This is our last hope. In this half a month, even if they did not stop accepting missions, they might not be able to gather 900 points. This was their only hope." Zhao Dehan nodded heavily, and said, "I'll listen to second brother." And then, he strode forward. Bailey Tianhai carefully observed every single detail in the surroundings, and continuously calculated in his mind. Standing at the gate, Zhao Dehan said, "Second brother, I'll go in first. If there's no danger inside, I'll come out and get you." With that, he walked into the Heaven Fairyland. Buzz. A ray of light engulfed Zhao Dehan's figure. Bailey Tianhai walked in quickly and looked around to feel for a bit. A boundary? Boundary? After stopping for half a minute, without seeing Zhao Dehan coming out, Bailey Tianhai frowned and immediately stepped in. Buzz. His body was swallowed up by the light. The next second, his eyes subconsciously closed, because the strong light was blinding, it made people unable to open their eyes. Moreover, the strong light was not Xuan Bai's light, nor was it the strong sunlight, but was instead the glaring, scarlet golden light of the laser. Bailey Tianhai blocked it with his sleeves and opened his eyes. It was at this time that Zhao Dahan, who was standing not far away, muttered, "Second brother, this place. Here. Is it hell?" He was stunned on the spot. He looked at the distant mountains of corpses, at the river of blood, and at the ground littered with white bones. This world. Just like hell. The earth was as red as blood, and the blood-red light was reflected in the air. The blood-red light that was reflected in the air seemed like a mirror, making it hard for one's eyes to withstand it. Bailey Tianhai slowly got used to the surging holy source. Seeing the scene in front of him clearly, he was as stunned as Zhao Dahan was. This heavenly court. Are you sure this isn't hell? The scene in front of their eyes caused their scalps to go numb. Corpses were everywhere and they were still moving towards the mountain of corpses. The mountain of corpses formed a giant pyramid, with countless corpses constantly climbing upwards. Above the pyramid was a bloody eye. His eyes suddenly opened and closed. It was like a blood-red flame was burning. Too terrifying. Bailey Tianhai was already prepared, his stomach rolled, and almost vomited a few times, causing his face to turn pale white. Zhao Dahan's face did not look good either. "Second brother, what do we do now?" Bailey Tianhai forced himself to hold back, and said, "Since you're already here, no matter what, you have to give it your all." He looked at the red eye on the corpse mountain and said, "The heaven-seizing court should be the red eye. As long as you get the red eye, you should pass the mission. All the corpses here should also disappear." Zhao Dahan said, "I will lead the way, find a chance to get the red eye." As soon as he finished, the heaven fairyland suddenly shook. The red eye at the top of the mountain of corpses suddenly opened its eyes angrily. Its pupils were like lightning, staring at Bailey Tianhai and Bailey Tianhai. It was also at this moment. The 10,000 corpses roared, letting out waves of ghost-like wails. All the corpses suddenly turned and stared at Bailey Tianhai and Bailey Tianhai. A woo. Woo woo woo. All of the zombies rushed towards Bailey Tianhai. Zhao Dahan's hands sank, boom, boom. His arm was covered with granite as the corner of his mouth slightly hooked up. He excitedly smiled and said, "Come." Bailey Tianhai looked at the red eye, and thought, as expected, it can command and control these dead bodies. "You idiot. Make way." Bailey Tianhai let out a deep sound as all the power in his body surged, and was completely released. "As long as I obtain the red eye, I can pass this trial and get 900 point. Let's fight. Brother Zhong, when are we going in? What's the hurry? Let them consume their energy first." Outside the South Heaven Gate, the second-placed powerhouse, Zhong Qi, on the list of the 10 strongest warriors in the outer sect. He stood in front of the door with a cold smile on his face, quietly waiting. Rumble. Rumble. Great rock smash. Zhao Dahan roared, his arms swept out horizontally, and a strong power of the rocks charged out. Bang, bang, bang. A series of corpses were blown away. Zhao Dahan rushed forward. But he did not even take 3 steps forward before another wave of corpses rushed towards him. Ah! His right fist smashed down, boom. With his head smashed apart, Zhao Dahan kicked his leg out. Not waiting for 2 seconds, the headless body crawled back up again. Resurrection. It wasn't resurrection, it was simply impossible to kill. Zhao Dahan was shocked in his heart, and said, "Second brother, can we kill these monsters?" Bailey Tianhai could sense that these corpses did not know of the pain. Even if their heads were to be decapitated, they would not die, and losing their limbs would not have any effect. These corpses are a little strange. Bailey Tianhai's brows tightened, and said, "Push forward faster. As long as we can obtain the red-eyed eye, these corpses will naturally disintegrate." Zhao Dahan nodded heavily, "Amen. Second brother, I'll lead the way. You save energy." With that, Zhao Dahan charged towards the group of corpses. He stabbed both his hands into the ground and shouted, "Yang Kui, explode." Green veins bulged all over his body, and his granite strength gushed into the ground. The stone pillars kept thrusting up, sending those corpses flying. At the same time, Bailey Tianhai stepped on the protruding stone pillars and continued to rush towards the corpse mountain. Zhao Dahan also quickly followed. There were stone pillars protruding from the ground, each higher than the last. In the blink of an eye, He had already reached the edge of the corpse mountain. Standing on top of a 100-meter-tall stone pillar, Bailey Tianhai looked at his red eyes that were filled with anger. Break. He took a step forward and then flew up into the air. He suddenly took a step in the air, shua. He flew up once more, his body constantly fluctuating in mid-air, as though every step he took landed on a rock. As he flew higher and higher, he was able to reach the height parallel to the red eye in just a few seconds. His body floated. Bailey Tianhai said excitedly, "Take him down." He moved his body and flew towards the red eye. However, suddenly, the top of his head went dark. Bailey Tianhai tensed up. He did not have time to react. Peng. An extremely strong force crushed down, and his body was instantly sent flying, heavily smashing on the ground. Puff. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. Zhao Dahan was already surrounded by the zombie. Seeing Bailey Tianhai being blasted down, his entire body was scarlet red as he grabbed the ground and shook. Earth ripple. Hualala. A string of zombie unsteadily fell to the ground. Zhao Dahan quickly rushed towards Bailey Tianhai. Humph. Puny human. A thunderous voice sounded in the sky. The moment the voice fell, a huge black figure flashed. Rumble. A powerful surge of power poured down. Bang. Boom. Bailey Tianhai's pupils tightened. Ah! Zhao Dahan shouted madly, "Rock realm, rumble." With him at the center, numerous rocks that looked like afterimages appeared one after another. These rocks formed a rock boundary that protected Bailey Tianhai inside. Bam! Rumble. Under the force of the impact, Zhao Dahan's body sank and his knees fell to the ground from the impact as he vomited a mouthful of blood. The stone world shattered. However, he managed to block this attack. He blocked it. I do have a bit of defense, but this move. I want all of you to die. The shadow suddenly pressed down, like a black cloud descending. Rumble. 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 Thunder raged, lightning crackled and exploded. There was a huge lightning field in the sky above Bailey Tianhai and Yu Yang. It was filled with destructive power. Even so, the zombie still rushed towards them, disregarding everything else. Bailey Tianhai quickly crawled up from the ground and leapt to Zhao Dahan's side, supporting him up. He said, "Lightning farm, quickly run." Zhao Dahan also realized the danger. He stood up and punched out with both of his fists. Both fists were like a torrential storm striking out, directly striking a path out of the group of zombie. Bailey Tianhai followed along, his eyes looking up into the sky, his mind thinking continuously. Ha ha ha. Lowly humans, you won't be able to escape. 10,000 lightning strikes. Fall for me. Laughing wildly, the entire world changed colors. In the lightning field, a bolt of lightning struck down, followed by a torrential downpour of lightning without any blind spots. Rumble. Rumble. Tens of thousands of thunderbolts poured down. The power of annihilation was unleashed without end. As long as the lightning bolt touched the minefield would instantly be destroyed. Those zombies were turned into powder one by one. Even if they were indestructible, it didn't matter. They would just turn into dust. Bailey Tianhai looked at the scene before him as cold sweat trickled out of his forehead. Looking at the zombie that had been turned into dust, his four brains started working like a computer. Suddenly, Bailey Tianhai said, "The sky." Zhao Dahan was startled. "Second brother, what did you say?" Bailey Tianhai said, "Dashu, how many times can your rock energy withstand the attack?" Zhao Dahan said, 2 or 3 times should be fine, right? All right. Listen to my command." While speaking, Bailey Tianhai grabbed Zhao Dahan's arm and lowered his body, then suddenly flung him into the air. Hula. He threw it into the air. Bailey Tianhai's body moved. Break. Zhao Dahan had already been struck by the lightning, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. The instant his body landed, he was once again caught by Bailey Tianhai, and once again, was flung into the air. This time, he threw it straight into the dark clouds, where it was filled with raging lightning. Bailey Tianhai flew into the dark clouds, grabbed the Zhao Dahan whose body was covered with lightning, and threw him again. This time, he flew directly to the top of the black cloud. Zhao Dahan said excitedly, "Second brother, There is no lightning here. Bailey Tianhai also flew up and said excitedly, so it's like that. However, not far from them, the red eye was staring straight at Bailey Tianhai. A shadow flashed. Bang, bang. The two palms blasted them away. The two of them fell onto the stairs, blood gushing out. The black shadow charged forward. Instantly, it charged towards the two of them. Zhao Dahan let out a furious roar, his entire body turned into rocks, and he threw a few punches at the black figure. Then, she grabbed Bailey Tianhai and ran out of the heavenly court. As long as they escaped from the heavenly court, they would be fine. Now, they finally knew why those people that came out of the heavenly court turned into that. The heavenly court was not a place for people to stay. Huff. Huff. Whoosh whoosh. Second brother, we escaped. Zhao Dahan rushed out of the heaven fairyland and sat on the ground with Bailey Tianhai in his arms. Bailey Tianhai's eyes turned cold. In front of them, Zhongqi had a complacent sneer at the corner of his mouth, as he stood quietly in front of them. Bailey Tianhai did not recognize Zhongqi, but Zhongqi recognized him. Bailey Tianhai did not recognize Zhongqi, but Zhongqi recognized him. Seeing the cold smile on Zhongqi's face, Bailey Tianhai's heart tensed up. He revealed a respectful smile. Senior brother, are you here to complete the mission too? Zhao Dahan's eyes trembled. He had never seen Bailey Tianhai smile at a stranger. He did not recognize Zhongqi, but he could immediately tell from her eyes. His body moved closer to Bailey Tianhai. Zhongqi bent down and laughed sinisterly. You are right, I am indeed here to complete a mission. The lackeys behind him also laughed. Bailey Tianhai said, it's very dangerous inside. Senior brother, you must be careful. He still pretended that he didn't understand anything. Zhongqi glanced over and glanced at the entrance of the heaven fairyland. At this moment, Bailey Tianhai's reaction was extremely fast. He released all of the power in his body and locked onto a spot, then smashed his fist on Zhongqi's temple. Huala! A piercing sound rang out. This fist was extremely fierce. In the blink of an eye, Zhongqi was slightly distracted, and it was also because of this instant that Bailey Tianhai smashed his fist out. The temple was one of the weakest spots in a person's defense. Once it was struck, the person's head would be severely injured, and even if they didn't die, they would still be crippled. One punch kill? Zhongqi's pupils suddenly contracted. His reaction was also limited, and the moment a trace of energy fluctuations appeared in the air, he suddenly used both of his hands to block it. He placed a palm on his temple. Bam! The punch landed. Zhongqi's body immediately tumbled out. Boss! Senior brother! A few of the lackeys stared blankly. While they were in a daze, Bailey Tianhai's heart tightened. That punch just now. Logically speaking, Zhongqi should not be able to react at such a close distance, but he was still able to block it. The top 10 outer sect experts were ranked second. He definitely wasn't bragging about his strength. That kind of superhuman reaction. Even Bailey Tianhai himself wouldn't be able to do it. After his fist was blocked, Bailey Tianhai knew that he was no longer able to attack, and subconsciously said to Zhao Dahan, run. Zhao Dahan also reacted. He helped Bailey Tianhai up and with a flick of his body, he immediately flew out. Boom! Zhao Dahan suddenly struck a power barrier. Ah! With a roar, Zhongqi stood up, the veins on his forehead started to bulge, all the energy on his body was ignited. He stared at Bailey Tianhai and bellowed, do you think you guys can escape? Heh! Rumble! Rumble! The aura released from his body rumbled. Zhongqi was furious to the extreme. His entire body seemed to be burning with flames. And after that roar, his body fiercely jumped up high in the air. Looking down from above, his fist struck at Zhao Dahan. Roar! In the air, Zhongqi's figure turned into a fierce tiger. He was also an ancient Empyrean. The awakened power of the tiger. With a loud tiger's roar, he leapt down from the ground, crushing down with his overwhelming strength. Zhao Dahan's pupils tightened, as he protected Bailey Tianhai. Ah! His entire body had turned into granite. Bam! Rumble! His strength exploded outwards. Zhongqi lightly bounced to the side, and the corner of his mouth revealed a cold, disdainful smile. Just this kind of defense. You dare to fight against me head-on? Catcher. Hualala. With the sound of rocks shattering, pieces of the granite on Zhao Dahan's body broke off, peeling off his body. He spat out a few mouthfuls of black blood, and his face turned pale white. Bailey Tianhai said solemnly, "You idiot." Zhao Dahan wiped the blood off his mouth and said, I'm fine. Are you all right? Then I'll see how many times you can resist. Zhongqi sneered, his fists moved, the tiger claws appeared, his figure moved, Su. The figure disappeared. Boom. In a flash, he appeared in front of Zhao Dahan and violently smashed at Zhao Dahan's chest with both of his hands. Splash, splash, splash. Splash, splash, splash. Zhongqi's hands were like sharp claws, slashing at Zhao Dahan's chest like blades. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of deep wounds could be seen on his chest, and his bones were visible. Fresh blood gushed out of his wounds. Phut! Zhao Dahan spat out a mouthful of blood. You idiot! Bailey Tianhai roared. He sprung his body, locked his eyes on Zhongqi and quickly attacked. With just you. Lie down. Zhongqi's body flipped. He leapt into the air and swept his right leg downwards. Bam! With a kick on Bailey Tianhai's neck, Bailey Tianhai fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Phut! This kick almost broke Bailey Tianhai's neck. Bailey Tianhai couldn't get up. Zhao Dahan was on the verge of collapse, but he still wanted to protect Bailey Tianhai. However, without waiting for him to reach Bailey Tianhai's side, Zhongqi turned his body and kicked, directly aiming at Zhao Dahan's chest. Boom! Zhao Dahan flew out. His body caved in, and his entire body sank into the rocks. Black blood continuously flowed out of his mouth, and his body didn't move at all. Zhongqi walked to Bailey Tianhai's side and said sinisterly, "Do you think you can still sneak attack me?" Bam! A heavy kick landed on Bailey Tianhai's head. Bailey Tianhai's head sank as fresh blood gushed out. Bailey Tianhai said, "If you want to kill them, then hurry up." At this moment, he knew he would not survive. If he was going to be humiliated, it would be better to die early. Zhongqi laughed coldly. "Do you want to die? Ha ha ha. You want to die, but you let me. Take out your contribution points token." Bailey Tianhai's gaze tightened, and said, "If you want to kill me, I don't have any points plate." Zhongqi kicked Bailey Tianhai off his seat, walked up to Bailey Tianhai and took out 2 contribution points tablets from within his bosom. The corner of his mouth hooked up as he said, "You want to gather all of your points to participate in the inner sect examination? Keep dreaming. Only trash like you want to participate in the examination. Humph. Do you even know how powerful you are?" Zhongqi played with the 2 points medallions in his hand with a face full of disdain. Bailey Tianhai's gaze tensed up. It was also at this time. The power that was used on the palm of Zhongqi's hand was great. Bang, bang. The contribution point token broke into pieces and slid down from the gaps between his fingertips, landing on Bailey Tianhai's face. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Zhongqi laughed out loud. The group of lackeys behind him also laughed. Take the examination. Enter the inner sect. Useless, you think you're worthy? Ha ha ha. He mocked crazily. Bailey Tianhai's eyes were blazing, his fists clenched tightly, but he was not rash, because he only had one thing he had to do, and that was to preserve his life, to not die. Everything was possible with only one life. With his life, he would have the chance to take revenge. Bailey Tianhai said fiercely, "If I don't take revenge, I will not be a human." Zhongqi looked at Bailey Tianhai with disdain, and said, "Trash, just obediently stay in the outer sect. You will never be able to enter the inner sect in this lifetime. Ha ha ha." Zhongqi did not kill Bailey Tianhai. Zhongqi did not kill Bailey Tianhai. Based on his personality, Bailey Tianhai and Yu Shan were definitely going to die. However, he had brought a mission with him, and the mission clearly stated that Bailey Tianhai was not to be killed. That was why he didn't kill him. Otherwise, if Bailey Tianhai ambushed him, he definitely would not tolerate it. Breaking the points medallion into pieces also meant that Bailey Tianhai's task credit had been reduced to 0. There were still 10 days before he would not be able to gather enough points and would not have the qualifications to participate in the examination. It was actually very easy to die alone. However, death and despair were even more painful. Moreover, it was the kind of situation where one could see hope and try harder to win, but suddenly falling into a bottomless abyss and sinking into great despair was the most painful thing. Killing someone, killing their heart. What Lin Yuan wanted was death, and what he wanted was to cause Bailey Tianhai to fall into despair. And it was despair in an infinite cycle. He would not give Bailey Tianhai any chance. He wouldn't even give her a chance. Zhongqi walked away with a smile on his face. Bailey Tianhai clenched his teeth so hard that his teeth made popping sounds. He wanted to crawl up, but his whole body was severely injured. His hands were propping up, his arms were trembling, and he suddenly fell to the ground again. Ah! He bellowed. Helplessness, unwillingness, it was all despair. After working hard for so long and seeing the light of dawn, he suddenly fell into darkness. The mission was not completed, and the points were gone. All of a sudden, he had nothing. He began to think that even if they couldn't gather task credit, with their current points, they would be able to let Long Fei participate in the inner sect examination. Now. Nothing. Why? Bailey Tianhai shouted crazily. He thought that Zhongqi was only being ordered around by someone. There was still someone backing him. Was it Lin Yuan? Or an elder of the Sword Elf Mountain? Bailey Tianhai's heart was in extreme pain. Zhao Dehan was on the verge of death. Rumble. It was raining cats and dogs, and the two of them looked like orphans under the heavy rain. Rumble. 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 At the outer sect of ancient antiquity, heavy rain poured down and lightning raged. At the entrance to Long Fei's courtyard, Jin and Mu stood guard at the entrance to the yard. Their bodies were already soaked, but they did not leave. Their eyes swept over the darkness. Hualala. A bolt of lightning struck down, the sky seemed to have split open, Xuanar Bai's light shone out. Their eyes suddenly narrowed. A middle-aged man wearing a black robe stood there. It suddenly appeared. Who is it? The man did not respond. The lightning disappeared and the area was shrouded in darkness. Mu's aura was released. He wanted to capture that person's aura, but he didn't sense anything. Was that a human? Mu muttered. Jin said, "Are our eyes playing tricks on us?" Mu replied, "Regardless of all that, we should just be a bit more careful." Hualala. Another bolt of lightning struck down. The two of them looked at the spot where the lightning had struck and saw that the black figure had already disappeared. Just as the two of them felt slightly relieved. The eyes of the duo quivered, and a cold shiver went down their spines. Gudong. Gudong. The two of them swallowed their saliva and looked behind them. Rumble. Lightning streaked across the sky. The black shadow man was standing right behind them, his aura directly crushing them so that they couldn't move at all. Bang, bang. Both palms moved, directly striking the two, and they both flew out. The middle-aged man stood at the entrance to the yard without even turning his head around. He didn't even look at the two men as he stared at the brightly lit room. He took a step forward. Rumble. As the lightning struck down, the middle-aged man's state of mind suddenly became chaotic, and his foot that was in the way suddenly shrank. What's going on? His heart skipped a beat. A chill went up his spine. It was as if this courtyard had an exceptionally dangerous aura. What realm was he in? First level of King Swordsman, in the outer sect, no one was his match. Even if the entire outer sect combined forces, they still wouldn't be his match. In the outer sect, what was there to be afraid of? After pausing for a few seconds, he released his aura and directly sensed every single room in the courtyard. At this moment, this was his territory. There was a flower, a blade of grass, a table, and not even a drop of rain could escape his senses. Besides the two trash in the backyard, there's only one other person in the whole yard. Lying on the bed. It should be the boy that Big Brother is looking for, right? His breathing is stable, his breathing is weak, and his body can't move. It's like he's in deep sleep, and that kid should be him. The man thought to himself, didn't the information say that there was a personal maid? Forget it. He didn't think too much about it. It didn't matter if he had a personal maid. Rumble. With another flash of lightning, the man stepped into the courtyard. This time, his heart sank again, and the chill grew even stronger. It was as if he had stepped into a land of death. The man's forehead tightened, and a wave of rage surged in his heart. A mere outer court disciple, I think you can make a flower out of it. Although he said that, he was very cautious in his heart. He released his aura. His body seemed to be covered with an air shield, the raindrops upon contact with his body, and they immediately spread out. The more he walked into the room, the more pressured he felt, and no matter how calm he was, it was useless. When he arrived at the door, even his breathing became hurried. Huff, huff, huff. The man tightly furrowed his brows. His eyes revealed an evil glint as he shouted, "I'd like to see what kind of sacred being is inside." He kicked it. At this moment, the door automatically opened. A young girl of 11 or 12 years old stood in front of the door, her eyes raised. At this moment, the man's eyes were tightly locked, and cold sweat instantly broke out on his forehead. He clearly didn't sense the aura of a servant girl, and what was more important was, the little girl's pupils were not human eyes at all. It was the rainbow eyes. The man wanted to speak, but the little girl's figure moved, shooting out a strange thing from her body, a multicolored feather. The feather flashed. Whoosh. Crack. The man's head fell to the ground and he rolled a few times. His eyes were glaring furiously at the phoenix. Phoenix's pupils slowly contracted as she coldly said, "Anyone who dares to touch my husband will die." Then, she turned around and returned to Long Fei's bedside. The door closed automatically. The man's body slightly trembled and he fell to the ground with a bang. Blood gushed out. He didn't even know how he died. King Swordsman rank could also be considered a powerhouse. However, in the eyes of the people of divine space, the powerhouse of the mortal world were like ants. This was the difference between humans and gods. In another place, a black shadow suddenly descended and its black pupils changed into white pupils. After pausing for a few seconds, the corner of its mouth curled into a smile as it said, "Found it." The heavy rain continued all night and did not stop until dawn. The heavy rain continued all night and did not stop until dawn. Fire, Earth found the two gold moo people. Their bodies were almost washed away by the water. After some healing, they finally woke up. "Hurry, boss is in danger." King woke up with the first words. Mu also said frantically, "Quickly go." When they entered the courtyard, they saw that the blood had already dried up and that the man's body was split into two halves, their pupils constricted. Looking at the man's clothes under the black robe, the two of them felt a chill in their hearts. Elder of Inner House. This is bad. And then, the two of them did not have any time to think and each carried a piece of the corpse as they ran out. He threw it down the cliff behind him. Huff, huff. After doing all of this, the two of them were already drenched in sweat, and sat together as if they were completely exhausted. With lingering fear in their hearts, they asked, "Elder of Inner House, is this really Elder of Inner House? The boss hasn't woken up yet. Who killed him?" "It's that." Phoenix's figure appeared in his mind. He did not say it out loud. Instead, he heavily swallowed his saliva because he could not imagine that a lowly was actually a super powerhouse. "Don't think too much into it. We don't care who he is, all we have to do is protect our boss." Jin laughed bitterly. "With this powerhouse here, do we still need our protection?" Actually, they had been here for more than a month, day and night, just to have peace of mind. Some are deceiving themselves, but their hearts will feel better. Their protection now seemed a little ridiculous. They couldn't even be considered cannon fodder. At the very least, they could still get their hands on cannon fodder. What about them? He didn't even have the right to charge forward. He didn't feel good in his heart. However, they didn't waver their resolve to continue working under him. "I wonder who this Elder of Inner House is." Fire let out a breath and looked at the bottomless abyss. In the depths of the abyss, a mournful wail could be heard as a black shadow turned over slightly. It didn't wait for the two corpses to hit the ground before devouring them. He said, The last time I heard that Horcrux's Gate Hill's peak owner, Dong Qiankue, escaped back from Fire Cow Valley after being heavily injured, could it be related to Boss? So you're saying that the elder who died just now was from Horcrux's Gate? Could Dong Qiankue have been injured by Boss? Thinking of this, both of them felt their scalps go numb. The more they thought about it, the more terrifying they felt. He didn't dare to think any further. In the room, the phoenix returned back to its lowly look, grabbed Long Fei's hand and muttered, "My honey, I was wrong. Apologize immediately." Because she had promised Long Fei that she wouldn't use her own strength, and she wouldn't become a phoenix. Just now, she had used the power of the phoenix feather. One-hit kill. In the mortal world, there were very few powerhouse that could resist such power. A powerhouse of the King Swordsman realm was an existence that could be killed instantly. I just used my own power. I failed to do what I promised you. I'm sorry. However, no one is allowed to hurt you. Whoever dares to hurt you, I will make sure he disappears from this world. My honey, wake up quickly. How is it? As Phoenix spoke, her eyes were filled with tears. After waiting for more than a month, her heart was in pain. She regretted following Long Fei to Fire Bull Valley. In that case, no one could injure Long Fei to this extent. With her here, she wouldn't let Long Fei get injured no matter what. So what if he exposed himself? So what if those men in black found him? She didn't care. She had been suppressing her emotions for such a long time. When that elder appeared, she had killed him in a single move without any hesitation. The power of the phoenix feathers was unstoppable. However, this sort of divine power could be easily discovered by others. Within a circumference of 100,000 kilometers, as long as the powerhouses with divine space were here, they would be able to sense it immediately. Phoenix didn't think too much about it. He only wanted to kill those people who were bullying Long Fei. My honey, wake up quickly. You've slept too long. I really want to eat the meat you grilled. I want to. Phoenix grabbed Long Fei's hand and rested it against her cheek, as she softly said that. It was unknown if it was because she was too tired or something, but she slowly fell asleep. It was also at this time. Long Fei lightly moved one of his fingers. Ah! Long Fei roared, rank 4 dragon body, go to hell, rumble, rumble, rumble. The voice was like a thunderclap, unceasingly wreaking havoc, and dragon roars rang out. Powerful energy unceasingly surged out from Long Fei's body. Buzz, buzz, buzz. One ring, one ring. Long Fei's body felt like it was surrounded by a giant dragon and its power. This feeling. It felt so good. Ha ha ha. Long Fei laughed. It did not disappear. The power of the rank 4 dragon body has not disappeared. Done. If the power of a rank 4 dragon could be unleashed, then that meant that his physical body had become even stronger. At this moment, his level was already Master Swordsman rank. Huff. Huff. Long Fei's breathing became heavier. The power of a rank 4 dragon was not bad, but right now, his physical body was still unable to endure this kind of power. The power was great, but if he continued to open his body wouldn't be able to withstand it. There is a time limit. However, Long Fei didn't think too much about it at the moment. Long Fei walked out of the refined space, looked at the huge door of consciousness and said excitedly, "Can I break through this barrier now?" He wanted to get out now. He wanted to regain his senses. He wanted to live to come back to life. He had been here too long, he didn't know how long, and the feeling of being separated from the outside world made him uneasy. He was worried about Phoenix. Worried about Liu Luoshi. He was also worried about his other brothers. He had to get out. Rank 4 dragon body, open, rumble. Long Fei stood under the huge door of consciousness and roared. The strong wind beneath his feet immediately raged and white flames burst out. A 4th rank dragon. He had never opened it. Now that he had opened it and clenched both his hands, it was as if what he was holding was not strength, but a powerful world. Long Fei stared at the huge door and moved his body. Boom. His figure disappeared. It instantly landed in front of the door of consciousness and heavily shouted, "Break for me." He punched forward. Rumble. 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 The gate of consciousness trembled, but it did not break at the first possible moment. Long Fei frowned. Still can't do it. I will not hesitate. Long Fei's body bounced off and landed on the ground. He didn't want to wait any longer. He was afraid that he would go crazy if he continued to stay. His eyes darkened. Long Fei looked at the door of consciousness and shouted in his heart, "Power of eternity, open for me. Infinite boxing." Boom, boom. I'm going for broke. I'm going for broke. He had stayed here for too long. Long Fei really wanted to know about the situation outside. He wanted to know if he was still alive. He could not feel his own body. He was just like a lone soul wild ghost. If this continued, he would really go crazy. Bam! Bam! When the power of eternity gushed out, Long Fei's power became even stronger. Boom! Boom! The infinite boxing was summoned by Long Fei. Looking at the gigantic boxing glove, Long Fei clenched it tightly with his right hand, stared at the door of consciousness, and said, "This father shall see just how hard you are. Come." With all his firepower, Long Fei leaped forward. A heavy punch was delivered. Live. You must live. The word Bailey Tianhai had said to him the most during this period of time was live. It was also the word he said the most to Zhao Dahan. Hey, did you hear that? You have to live, you have to live, do you hear me? Bailey Tianhai carried Zhao Dahan on his back. Zhao Dahan's face was pale white, and his breath flowed like gossamer threads. He looked like a dead man. In the Heaven Fairyland, he used his own body to defend against the powerful attack, causing all the granite on his body to shatter. He was bombarded again in the lightning field. Even so, he still protected Bailey Tianhai with all his might. After being injured so heavily by Zhongqi in 2 moves, his body had basically become crippled. Bailey Tianhai didn't care about the relationship between brothers. He had promised Bailey Tianhai's father that he would definitely protect him well. He was bullied since he was young, and was not treated as a human. Only Bailey Tianhai protected him, taught him cultivation, taught him how to retaliate. Bailey Tianhai was extremely special to him. Did you hear that? You must live. Bailey Tianhai carried Zhao Dahan on his back, and slowly walked towards the teleportation circle outside Nantian City. He crawled on the ground. 1 blood seal at a time. While he was speaking, his body suddenly sank down, almost falling to the ground. His arms couldn't support it anymore, and trembled non-stop. However, blood dripped from the corner of his mouth as he heavily said, "Bailey Tianhai, you have to live for this daddy as well. Only by living can I take revenge. Only by living can we take back everything. You must live." Ah! Bailey Tianhai said heavily. He was afraid that he could not take it, that he would fall, that he would not be able to take revenge, that he would disappear from this world. I am Bailey Tianhai. I am the forebrain genius. I am the arrogant Bailey Tianhai. Ah! Bailey Tianhai roared in his heart. In his entire life, he had never encountered any major setbacks. In the Sea City, he could cover the sky with one hand. In the ancient antiquity, there were many geniuses, but so what? He, Bailey Tianhai, could not accept these people. Ah! Roared out heavily. From the South Heaven Gate, he did not know how long it took for him to reach here. As long as he entered the portal, he would be able to survive. Cough, cough, cough. Zhao Dahan coughed continuously, and said weakly, "Second brother, put me down, don't worry about me, I can't take it anymore, carrying me on your back will only implicate you." Cough, cough, cough. As he spoke, he coughed a series of mouthfuls of black blood. What nonsense are you talking about? We are brothers, do you understand? We're brothers. Bailey Tianhai said heavily. It was simply impossible for him to abandon Zhao Dahan. Even if he were to die, he had to die together with Zhao Dahan. He didn't quite understand the meaning of the word brother previously, but he understood it after meeting Long Fei. Brother, we shall live and die together. Brother, if you don't want to, then do it. Brother, laugh and die together. Brother, don't abandon me, don't give up. Bailey Tianhai said, even if I die, I will carry you back. You better cheer up and live a good life, understand? Looking at the teleportation circle in the distance, Bailey Tianhai clenched his teeth and crawled forward step by step. Live. You must live. Ha ha ha. Well done. Zhongqi, don't worry, I will inform Master about the inner sect examination. At that time, you will pass without a hitch. As Lin Yuan laughed, Bailey Tianhai's expression of despair surfaced in his mind, and he couldn't help but feel even better. Zhongqi's eyes lit up, and he said, "Thank you, senior brother." Lin Yuan replied, "Amen, in the future, be obedient and enter the inner sect. You can have anything you want." Zhongqi said excitedly, "I will listen to you." As long as he could enter the inner sect, he would be willing to kill people, let alone steal a few contribution points plates. In the ancient antiquity, the difference between the inner and outer sect disciples was like the difference between heaven and earth. They were two completely different worlds. The outer sect was the same as the ordinary world. Only the inner sect could be considered as the real ancient antiquity. Lin Yuan nodded in satisfaction, and asked, "Are the two of them dead yet?" Zhongqi said, "They definitely aren't dead yet, but I wonder if they'll be able to come back." Lin Yuan laughed, and said, "It's best if he's alive. This year will make him fall into despair, and next year will be the same. As long as he's in ancient antiquity for a year, he shouldn't even think of entering the inner sect." Ha ha ha. Fight with me? You are still young. Ha ha ha. Lin Yuan laughed out arrogantly. He would definitely not give Bailey Tianhai any hope. Once Bailey Tianhai entered the inner sect, if many elders knew about his existence in the four-brain genius, then he would definitely receive high regard, and might even directly enter the main hall. It would be difficult to deal with them when the time came. However, now, Bailey Tianhai was in the outer sect. Even if the outer sect was a dragon, they would still have to lie on the ground. Kneel in front of him. Lin Yuan laughed proudly. Horcrux's Gate Hill. Within the fiery chamber. Boom. Boom. Thick flames burst out from Dong Tiankuei's rank 1 flame, and shot out one after another, but halfway through the release of the flame, its power suddenly disappeared. Dong Tiankuei's body sank as cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. He covered his thighs with one hand and his entire body could not help but tremble. The pain was unbearable. Why? Dong Tiankuei replied heavily. It was hard for him to advance even half a step after breaking through the immortal swordsman rank, and in this period of time, his cultivation had not improved at all. This was the destruction of his second-grade fire essence. His body could not withstand it any longer, and with the hidden disease erupting in his body, his cultivation would not be able to recover at all. Unless an even stronger power was injected into his body. He had been waiting for Long Fei to get the fire essence. However, it had been 10 days and he still hadn't come back. This made Dong Tiankuei exceptionally unhappy. Dong Tiankuei walked out of the secret room and said with a heavy voice, "Third Elder still hasn't returned yet. Master, he's not back yet." The disciples that were sent to investigate were unable to find anything either. It seems like the third elder has disappeared. The corner of Dong Tiankuei's eyes twitched. He was extremely dissatisfied. Useless trash. Seems like I have to do this myself. An elder's disappearance did not attract any attention. The key thing was that he had been operating in secret, so other than Dong Tiankuei himself, not many people in Horcrux's Gate Hill knew about the third elder's disappearance. An elder's disappearance did not attract any attention. The key thing was that he had been operating in secret, so other than Dong Tiankuei himself, not many people in Horcrux's Gate Hill knew about the third elder's disappearance. There were more than 1,000 ancient antiquity elders. Adding on the fact that the elders had sufficient freedom, they did not need to report anything to anyone, and could choose to cultivate in seclusion in a certain cave at any time. It was a very normal thing for the elders to not be noticed. Compared to the Horcrux's Gate's third elder who was not noticed, Fang Wampeng's situation was a little different. Fang Wampeng, come back with us. This is your only path. If you dare run again, don't blame us for being impolite. In the dense forest, 4 yellow armored guards surrounded Fang Wampeng. Fang Wampeng's face was burned, But he did not recover. When he found out that Dong Qiankue wasn't dead for the past 2 months, and had returned to the ancient antiquity, he knew what kind of consequences he would face. He didn't think that Dong Qiankue was still alive. And even more so, did not expect that he would be able to return to the ancient antiquity. Looking at the 4 yellow armored guards, they were the main hall's personal guards, the elite of the ancient antiquity, and every single one of them was a powerhouse of the King Swordsman rank. Moreover, not only were there 4 guards in yellow armor, but even more of them were rushing to this place. Fang Wanpeng slightly said, I still don't want to return to the sect. Moreover, I have not done anything to let the ancient antiquity down. Since the sect master has sent you all to capture me, then I should not go back right now. The yellow armored guard meant that he had committed a crime. Then again, the fact that the ancient antiquity had mobilized the yellow armored guards for Dong Qiankue meant that Dong Qiankue had not lost his power. If a rogue cultivator like him were to return, his fate could be imagined. He couldn't go back. You don't want to return to the sect. He didn't do anything that would let the sect down. Humph. Fang Wanpeng, are you saying that you can't go back if you don't want to? Have you ever done something that you don't have any points in your heart? If you didn't do anything wrong, do you think we would have come looking for you? I advise you to stop struggling so fearlessly. If you feel that you did not do anything wrong, then the sect will explain. A guard said indifferently, his eyes communicating a little. Fang Wanpeng laughed bitterly, and said, Did you speak clearly? How could he survive? Cut the crap. Fang Wanpeng will ask you one last time, are you coming back with us? Zhong Xian stepped forward. The aura on the 4 of them suddenly changed. A faint killing intent could be felt. Fang Wanpeng said, Junior brothers, when we return, I will naturally return. I do not wish to return yet, so don't force me to make a move either. Not waiting for him to finish. A yellow-armored warrior said in a low voice, impudent. The 4 of them attacked at the same time. Fang Wanpeng's aura was suddenly released, rumble. A powerful pressure was released, directly crushing the 4 of them. Their gazes tightened as they pulled out their weapons. Boom. With a blur of his body, he rushed in front of Fang Wanpeng. Fang Wanpeng leaped into the air at the same place he was standing. Just as the 4 of them wanted to give chase, a black shadow flashed by. Bam! Fang Wanpeng fell down from the sky. Falling to the ground, he spurted a mouthful of blood. The black shadow descended and stood on a rock. A sneer formed on the corner of his mouth as he spoke, truly useless. How could 4 people fight against 1 person in such a manner? I can't stand it any longer. Fang Wanpeng raised his gaze. He did not have any reaction to the attack just now. He had dealt with people with terrifyingly high cultivation, so they would definitely be able to completely crush him. With a heavy voice, he asked, Who are you? Black Robe Man laughed. I am someone who meddles in other people's business. I don't like people bullying others when there are fewer people. Ha ha ha. The 4 yellow armored guards were not happy, but if the black-gowned man had not intervened, they would not have been able to capture Fang Wanpeng right now. The 4 could only clasp their hands and thank him. Thank you for your help. The black-robed figure moved. They could not see his speed at all, and the 4 of them were also unable to react. The man in black stood in front of them and said, Since you've said thank you, then you must at least show some gratitude, right? The 4 men's eyes grew dark as they asked, What do you want? The corner of the black-robed man's mouth curled up as he smiled and said, It's very simple. Your lives. The pupils of the 4 youths abruptly constricted. At this moment, they retreated all of a sudden. However, the black-robed man disappeared once again, landing behind the 4 of them. His 5 fingers formed a claw, grabbing onto the back of their necks. Ah! It let out a painful cry. In less than half a second, a person turned into a dried corpse, his body constantly shrinking. From the appearance of a middle-aged man, he turned into a 100-year-old man, his skin started to wrinkle, and his hair turned dry and white, as though his lifespan had reached its end in an instant. One must know that the lifespan of these King Swordsman realm cultivators were all around 5,000 years. The eyes of the other 3 trembled, and their bodies trembled non-stop. Even their feet could not move, and their faces were incomparably pale. A trash's physique. Just this much longevity. The man in black sneered. His gaze shifted toward the three figures. Ah! 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 Three blood-curdling screams rang out. The three of them were sucked dry and turned into withered old men. The black-robed man's face was filled with disdain. They are all in the form of trash. Huff! After taking a deep breath, the man in black walked in front of Fang Wanpeng. Fang Wanpeng subconsciously shrank back. Just now, when he saw the scene before his eyes, his heart was trembling and even the skin on his head was numb. He had never seen such a terrifying technique. Moreover, the black-robed man was moody. It was as if he wasn't a person. The black-gowned man's face was full of smiles. You are someone from the ancient antiquity? Fang Wanpeng nodded and said, yes, yes. The black-robed man laughed and said, very good, bring me to ancient antiquity. Fang Wanpeng looked at the black-robed man and said, I won't bring you there. Even if the ancient antiquity sent people to capture him, his heart would still protect the ancient antiquity. If such a terrifying powerhouse were to go to ancient antiquity, it would be like a ferocious tiger charging into a flock of sheep. The entire ancient antiquity would be sucked dry by him. The black-robed man smiled faintly and raised Fang Wanpeng up into the air. He sneered and said, you want to die? Fang Wanpeng clenched his teeth and said, kill me. The man in black sneered. Do you want to die? Heh. It's not that easy. Then, Fang Wanpeng suddenly fell to the ground and the black-robed man suddenly disappeared. Right at this moment, the surrounding forests issued a series of miserable screams. Ah! Ah! These people were his yellow armored guards, the elite powerhouses, but now, they weren't even considered ants. They were simply massacres. In less than half a minute. Once again, the black-robed man slowly walked toward Fang Wanpeng. With a cold smile on his lips, he said, how is it? Can you take me there now? Still not. Without waiting for Fang Wanpeng to speak, the black-robed man placed a hand on top of his head. The inner sect examination questions have been passed. 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 There were still 3 days until the inner sect examination. The exam's topic had already been decided, and the purpose was to let the participating disciples prepare themselves. The inner sect examination was divided into 3 parts. Survival assessment. In a dangerous place near the ancient antiquity, demon beast ran rampant. They had to stay there for a day and a night, and only those who survived could enter the second round of the examination. The second round's talent display. Displaying what you have learned is similar to the rookie selection. The only difference is that what you displayed this time wasn't some ancient superpower, but your speciality, strength, or speed. Reach a certain level before you can enter the third round. The third round was divided into 2 categories. One was a martial arts duel with the examinees, and the other was a challenge to the inner disciples. Even if he won, he had to meet the requirements to succeed. If one didn't meet the standards, it would still be considered as a failure. Under normal circumstances, only a handful of people would be able to pass through after 3 rounds, and not even one of them would be qualified to enter the inner sect. The standard of the inner sect examination was very high. Basically, the inner court disciple test was only a hope for the outer court disciples. A real hope is a kind of fantasy. It was too difficult, and that was why there were only a handful of outer sect disciples who could enter the inner sect in these years. It was too difficult. For this year's 3 exams, even if one passed each of them, they would have to meet the criteria set by the inner sect before they could enter the next round. This was even more difficult. The content of this assessment is too difficult. Holy **T, who can pass that? Not a shred of hope. Many outer court disciples were dejected. To many people, they would be unable to pass this type of test even if they worked hard for their entire lifetime. Then again, even if they were able to participate in the competition, they would only be able to accumulate 300 points in a few years, or even over 10 years. Look at your dejected looks, you don't seem to be people of the martial arts training at all. What does the martial arts training care about? It is a spirit of never compromising. No matter how difficult it is, as long as you work hard, you will always be able to achieve it. An old man said in a deep voice. He was an outer door presbyter, and at the same time, an outer sect disciple. He had already participated in more than 20 inner sect examinations. Not a single pass. Even so, he did not give up. Looking at this year's exam questions, his heart sank as well. It's increased difficulty again. Sigh. The inner sect is really out of our reach. He looked at the huge mountain in the distance. That was the inner sect gate of the ancient antiquity, and was a place he had no right to enter. Ah! Boom! Boom! Ah! Rumble! I don't believe it. Open for me. In front of the door of consciousness, Long Fei smashed heavily onto the door of consciousness. It did not stop for a few days, and at this moment, the door of consciousness was peeling. It was cracking. The cracks continued to spread. Bala! Bala! Break for me. Long Fei used both of his fists, the power of ancient dragon body and the power of 5 revolutions body, in addition to the power of eternity and infinite fist, to match the strength of superpower boxing. He slammed it down heavily. Boom. The door of consciousness let out a painful groan. Wung. The door was trembling. Fragments fell off one after another. Finally. Hualala. All of them shattered. Long Fei smirked. If you continue, your sister. The idea moved and stepped forward. At this moment. Boom. Long Fei's body suddenly bounced, and also took in a deep breath of cold air. Phew. He sucked in a deep breath of air, as though he had held it in for several years. Long Fei looked around, and then his gaze landed on the side of the bed with his eyes opened wide, motionlessly staring at his phoenix. Their eyes met. Phoenix's eyes glazed over and she muttered, "Is this a dream? Was this a dream? Is this a dream?" She did not dare to move or speak to Long Fei. She was worried that this was a dream and that she had imagined this scenario. She worried that the moment he spoke, Long Fei would lose consciousness once more. She was too afraid it was a dream. Long Fei gave a shallow smile and said, "Little girl, is there something on my face? What are you looking at like that for?" In an instant. Poochie. Phoenix covered her mouth with one hand, and her eyes immediately gushed out, while her entire body threw herself into Long Fei's embrace. Woo. Woo woo woo. Without saying anything, he started to wail. What was crying was something that made Long Fei's heart ache. He lightly patted her back and said, "Enough, don't cry." Long Fei did not know how long he had been unconscious. Who knew if the Phoenix used Nirvana pills or Phoenix King Bloodess to save his life? It was also at this time. Long Fei's Dragon Kwong's voice sounded out from within his body. He sounded very hoarse and aged, and Dragon Kwong seemed to have transformed into a different person as he said, "Master, you're finally awake." His voice was incomparably excited. These days, Long Kwong had been in extreme torment. He blamed himself, and even wanted to die. However, he could not end his life in Long Fei's body, or else he would have committed suicide long ago. It was too hard to bear. Long Fei asked, "Long Kwong, have I been unconscious for a long time?" Long Kwangdao, "It's been 2 months." Long Fei was startled, and said, "That long? Who saved me?" Long Kwangdao, "Master, it's all my fault, otherwise you wouldn't have fainted for so long. It's my fault. I shouldn't have taken your life as a risk, I shouldn't have used that secret technique that I have never used, it's all my fault." He started to blame himself crazily. Long Fei said, "Don't blame yourself, I'm awake now, right? Furthermore, I have also become a lot stronger. I must thank you." Long Kwangdao, "No, it was this girl who saved you. She used 3 Nirvana pills, and each Nirvana pill was considered a super divine pill even in the divine space. This is not all, the key point is her blood. She instilled Phoenix King Bloodess into you, otherwise, I would not have been able to complete her secret technique. Master, this girl is really amazing. I have never seen a Phoenix King blood before, but I didn't expect it to be on him. Her talent is at least 100 times stronger than those ancient god tribe." Long Fei knew that the Phoenix was different from the others from the beginning. He never thought that she would be so awesome. Hugging up Phoenix, he said, "Little girl, don't cry anymore. I'm fine now, I'm completely fine. I won't faint again. Phoenix wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and muttered, My honey, I'm not crying, I'm smiling. Long Fei looked at her stubborn look as he hugged her tightly once more, and said softly, I'm sorry for making you suffer. Phoenix resisted her tears and giggled. It was also at this time. Jin rushed into the courtyard and shouted, Big sister, come out quickly, Brother Bailey is injured. Second brother is injured. Second brother is injured. Long Fei's eyes narrowed, and said, What's going on? Phoenix released Long Fei and said, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan are going to complete a mission. I don't know what kind of mission it is, but after you fainted, the two of them kept on accepting missions, saying that they want to earn 900 points, and then participate in the inner sect examination together. There was no one else in the Phoenix's world but Long Fei. Regarding Bailey Tianhai, she did not really care about him. Thus, there were many things that he did not understand. Long Fei walked down the bed and quickly walked to the courtyard. And Zhao Dehan were both on the verge of death. Their hair was in a mess and their clothes were torn apart, causing their entire bodies to be covered with wounds. Long Fei frowned, he secretly clenched his fists, and instantly landed beside the two of them, saying, Help them into the room. Bailey Tianhai opened his eyes with much difficulty. Seeing Long Fei, the corners of his mouth slightly curled, and said, I knew it, I knew boss would wake up, ha ha ha. Cough, cough, cough. Coughing a few times consecutively, fresh blood spurted from his mouth. Long Fei said, Don't talk for now. The idea moved, Dragon Quang. The Dragon Berserker idea moved, and quickly sensed Bailey Tianhai's injuries. Bailey Tianhai's eyes closed slightly. It was painful, extremely uncomfortable, but there was a smile on his lips. If Long Fei could wake up, he would be willing to let him suffer a heavy injury. When Zhao Dehan heard Long Fei's voice, he also woke up. Looking at Long Fei, his first sentence was, Boss, save second brother first. I'm fine. Luby. Long Fei's fists were popping out, he felt very upset. Dragon Quang quickly checked their bodies, and then said, The two of them can live. This is a complete miracle, even with only a single breath remaining, I can't imagine what happened to them. I really can't help but sigh at the power of life. Bailey Tianhai's 4 brains were damaged, all of the muscles and bones in his body were in disorder, his internal organs were practically all twisted together. Zhao Dehan is even more serious. His body is basically crippled. His internal organs, tendons, bones, everything is injured. Also, his rock inherent skill has been damaged, I'm afraid. Hearing these words, Long Fei's heart ignited with a ball of flame as he said, Don't tell me about this, is there any hope for survival? Long Quangdao, there is, but it's a bit troublesome and requires a lot of spiritual herbs. You won't be able to take one out right now. Long Fei said, I can't even take one out, how can this be called a method? What can I take out? No matter the cost, I must save them. At this time, Phoenix walked into the room and said, My honey, I still have a lot of spiritual medicines, I can. Long Quang also immediately said, Master, if I want to let them recover in the shortest amount of time, this girl's spirit blood can do it, her spirit blood can treat any injuries, and adding my power control, it won't harm Bailey Tianhai and the others' bodies. This is the most. Without waiting for Long Quang to finish speaking, Long Fei suddenly became extremely gloomy, and said, This is the first time, if there's anyone who wants to attack the Phoenix a second time, I will kill you. It was extremely sinister. The dragon was trembling. If Long Fei was awake, he definitely would not let the Phoenix use its blood to save him. Nothing must happen to Phoenix. Absolutely not. Long Fei said in a deep voice, You remembered it. Long Quangdao, I understand. I'm sorry, Master, I shouldn't have said that, He was also feeling anxious for a moment. Long Fei slightly retracted his aura, and said, The blood of the Phoenix can save lives, so my blood can also do the same. Long Quang was startled, and said, Master, your blood is so supreme, how can you give it to them? Every single drop of yours is incomparably precious to you, and to you, spirit blood. Long Quang did not finish. 2 drops of spirit blood's blood had already appeared on top of the palms. With a slight movement of spirit blood, it landed on the corners of his and Zhao Dahan's mouths. Spirit blood merged into his body. Next, rays of light flashed across their wounds, carrying with them powerful healing abilities. Not only that, their own strength was also transforming crazily. In just a few seconds, Bailey Tianhai's 4 brain energy transformed, and in that few seconds, his brain regenerated and split into 8 brain parts. His entire body was enveloped in a powerful glow. Zhao Dahan's entire body congealed into pitch-black deep cold stone and iron, becoming extremely hard. The energy from his body exploded out wave after wave of rumbling sounds. It was abnormally thick. The entire room was filled with power. Long Fei's face paled slightly. Spirit blood did not agree with ordinary blood, it was Long Fei's cultivation and also the essence of the ancient dragon body's power. When he was in Universal Realm, he used his own spirit blood to help his brother break through. Just what kind of blood vein was he? I don't know. But he knew that his blood vein was abnormally strong, capable of saving others and breaking through. Long Quang carefully examined their injuries and said, all of them are healed. His inherent skill has changed, Bailey Tianhai's 4 brains have become 8. Zhao Dahan's innate talent has also undergone a metamorphosis. The strength of an ancient intermediate disciple has already awakened to the 3rd realm. Right now, his defense is something even the immortal swordsman rank cannot do. Master, your spirit blood can indeed bring a strong breakthrough for anyone, but it will harm you greatly. I believe that Big Brother Black and White, Big Brother Demon also told you to use your spirit blood as little as possible. Long Fei said in a bland voice, I understand. Long Fei was the kind of person who cared about everything for his brothers and his family. Let alone spirit blood, he could even bear to lose his life. Seeing that the 2 people's injuries had stabilized and their breathing had also calmed down, Long Fei's brows relaxed slightly. Bringing Phoenix with him, he walked out of the room and said, let them rest well and get some sleep. They walked to the courtyard. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were all standing in the courtyard. The water was a neighbor girl with a few freckles on her face. The moment she saw Long Fei, she immediately knelt down, thank you for saving my brother. Long Fei waved his right hand and a surge of energy immediately helped them up. Long Fei said, they also saved me, they were the ones who carried me back. All right. I won't say anything else. Now, all of you, remember what I have said. Long Fei moved and said, Dragon Quang, tell me the 5-element cultivation method. Long Quang Dao, understood. As Long Quang said this, Long Fei followed with another sentence. The 5 listened very seriously. After hearing all of this, the 5 of them seemed to have found a new world, their eyes burning with admiration. Long Fei said, in the past, you all were unable to break through because you all did not awaken the power in your bodies. You all have the 5 elements, and each of you all have your own unique power. Cultivate well. After Long Fei finished speaking, he walked out of the courtyard. Task failed. Task failed. Even if they failed, even if the Heaven Fairyland was incomparably dangerous, Bailey Tianhai and his sister Zhao Dahan wouldn't be injured to such an extent. Bailey Tianhai relied on his brain to survive. He would definitely not let himself fall into that hopeless situation. Thus, if Long Fei could think of it with his toes, they must have been targeted. Moreover, the task credit tablets on their bodies were gone. This meant even more that someone was harming them. He could kill, but not kill. Merely stealing the task credit meant that these people did not wish to see Bailey Tianhai in the inner sect examination. After analyzing it this way, there was only one person. Lin Yuan. They had offended Lin Yuan in the selection. Thinking about it, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. The killer should be him, right? Why are you so against me? You don't want me to enter the inner sect. All right. This old man is insistent on going in. When the time comes to celebrate with your head. Long Fei clenched his fists, and the power around his body exploded outwards. Not long after, he arrived at Task Palace. If you want to enter the inner sect, then you must have enough task credit to register. For the 3 of them, they had 900 points in task credit, not a single point less. Moreover, Long Fei only had 3 days, he had to complete it within 3 days. In the entire mission page, there was only one mission that could cause Long Fei to complete the second stage of the 3 divine missions, the Heaven Seizing Court, in such a short period of time. Task reward, 900 point. One time was enough. Long Fei didn't hesitate to go to the window and accept the mission. Junior brother, this mission will close this afternoon. I advise you not to take the risk. Too many people died in there. The mission was too dangerous. Over a period of time, over 100 disciples had died, and those who came back had become trash. This kind of mission was too dangerous and had to be removed. Long Fei persisted, I won't die. The man looked at Long Fei and said, as you wish. There was a quest mark added to his identity plate. Receiving the mission, Long Fei turned around and left. It was also at this time. In the next window, there was a very large woman. This was the first time Long Fei had seen such a tall and big woman. Her height exceeded 2 meters, and she wore a long and thick whip on her neck. Dressed in a tight suit. It also brought out her figure perfectly. His expression was a little cold. There was a trace of contempt in his eyes. No one around her dared to approach her. It was as if they were all afraid of her. All sorts of soft discussions could be heard from the crowd. Have you heard? She defeated Xu Wufu, who is ranked 8th in the top 10 experts list. When did you get all the news? Yesterday, the 4th powerhouse on the top 10 rankings, Lu Xiaotian, was crippled because of a single sentence. This girl is too fierce. Even standing in front of you gives me a huge pressure. Right now, no one dares to offend her. Even the elders only turn a blind eye and close one eye. Even if they were killing someone in the task palace, they would not be able to see it. This oceanic horses definitely have quite the background. Just as the people around her were discussing, the woman received the identity token from the window. She turned her gaze and swept the crowd with her ice-cold gaze. The surroundings instantly quieted down. The senior brother outside the window reminded him, the mission to snatch the heavenly court is too dangerous, you have to be careful about this mission. Long Fei trembled slightly, she wants to go to the Heaven Fairyland too? The tall girl did not turn back as she walked out of Task Palace. Long Fei also caught up quickly. To go to the Heaven Fairyland, one had to use a teleportation circle, and to use a teleportation circle, one had to obtain a teleportation gate. This kind of order badge could either be obtained from an elder or be bought from a black market. Thus, he wants a car. Junior sister, please wait. Long Fei chased after the tall woman and said, you are going to the Heaven Fairyland. Without waiting for Long Fei to finish speaking, the pride and amp, cool woman did not even look at Long Fei and directly said coldly, scram. Long Fei said, Junior sister, no matter what, I'm still your senior brother. It's impolite for you to speak like that. Pride and amp, cool woman squinted. The surrounding people immediately began to mock him. That brat is going to be unlucky. Ha ha ha. He actually dares to block Ocean Horse's way? Is he tired of living? Let's wait and see a good show. Long Fei said, you go to the Heaven Fairyland, and I'm also going to the Heaven Fairyland, it's along the way for us. Do you think it's possible for me to go with you? Pride and amp, cool woman still did not look at Long Fei, and it was even just a simple sentence, say it a second time, scram. Long Fei said, it's not good for girls to be so intrepid. There will be more people who will like them if they are gentle. There was a trace of teasing in his voice. In this half a month, there had been tens of people like Long Fei, who did not know life from death, teasing her. But every one of them were either crippled or still lying on their beds without being able to get up. When the surrounding people heard Long Fei's words, they all broke out into a cold sweat for him. They were all waiting for the scene of Long Fei lying on the ground and screaming in pain. Pride and amp, cool woman's eyes suddenly opened, Shua, his figure disappeared. He charged straight at Long Fei. Long Fei's pupils shrank as he moved his walk like snakeskin. Buzz. He dodged the attack, but at the same time, Pride and amp, cool woman's braid suddenly swept out. Boom. Sounds of something tearing through the air came one after another. Long Fei's body flew backwards, and he walked at a slanted angle. When the braids were thrown over, Long Fei's right hand suddenly grabbed them, and directly grabbed onto the braids. What a good braid, it's not good to use it to hit people. He slightly pulled. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman staggered a step. Flames burned in his eyes as he grabbed his braid with one hand and whipped it violently with the other. Shua. And pulled it out from Long Fei's palm. The surface of his palm was burning with pain. The moment his aura surged out, an ear-piercing buzzing sound rang out in the air. Her tall and cold figure instantly landed behind Long Fei, rolled up her braids and directly grabbed Long Fei by the neck, and coldly said, "It's not used to hit people, but to kill people." The braid suddenly retracted. Long Fei's neck felt like it was on fire, every strand of hair was like a needle, piercing into Long Fei's skin. This hair. Long Fei was secretly shocked, every hair seemed to have a life of its own. Was this braid his gift? Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I just want to leave with you, that's all. You want my life. Besides, I don't think big plaits are suitable for you. Let me give you a haircut." Long Fei's heart skipped a beat. Level 2 ancient dragon body, open, buzz. With the sudden surge of energy in his body, the aura on Long Fei's body changed drastically. He grabbed the braid with one hand and threw Pride and Amp, Cool Woman to the ground. His palm was like a blade, slashing down fiercely. Slash. The long braid had been cut in half from the waist. Voila! Voila! The surroundings went into an uproar. They were all dumbstruck as they looked at Long Fei with their mouths agape. It was too shocking. At the same time, their hearts were saying, "He's dead, he's dead, he's dead." The braid was her life. But now, it had been cut in half by someone, and it was a waist chop, with more than half cut. Could Long Fei still live? The braid had been cut off. Stood up. Her long hair was scattered, falling down her back and ears like a waterfall. From the looks of it, the surrounding people were dumbfounded once again. This. So beautiful. Why is she so beautiful? It's not cold at all. It looks a little cute. A single hairstyle has changed everything. Wow, I feel like I'm in love. All of them were unable to control themselves. The braid had been cut off and scattered. Coupled with her furious eyes, which were incredibly large, her hair covered some of her face. She was a bit cute, a type of gentleness. Long Fei was also startled. Look at how beautiful she is now. Looking at the half of the braid on the ground, Long Fei wanted to pick it up, but just when he was about to pick it up, the black hair on the ground suddenly disappeared. It was very strange. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman stared at Long Fei, his eyes blazing as though he wanted to eat Long Fei whole. However, she did not continue to attack Long Fei, but turned around and was about to leave. It ended just like that. Even with his hair cut off, he still didn't have a temper. This made the surrounding people a little confused. This didn't seem like her personality. Long Fei smiled and wanted to follow along. At this moment, a disciple walked out and said, "You can't leave." Long Fei was startled for a moment, and said, "Why can't I leave?" The disciple said, "The elder invites you over." Long Fei asked, "That elder?" That disciple said somewhat impatiently, "If I'm telling you to go over, then go over. Why are you saying so much rubbish?" Her eyes were filled with disdain. Moreover, the aura on his body was not ordinary. It was not that type of master swordsman rank, but that kind of stronger aura. Immortal swordsman rank. There were no sword immortal stage disciples in the entire outer sect. Thus, the disciple in front of him wasn't an outer court disciple, but an inner court disciple. His eyes looked down, scornful of everything around him. When she spoke to Long Fei, she only looked at him empty-handed. Long Fei laughed. "You want me to go over? Tell him to kneel down. You're courting death." The disciple's gaze turned sinister, his voice was filled with killing intent, and his aura also instantly burst forth, the pressure of the immortal swordsman rank directly causing the surrounding outer sect disciples to retreat. He was forced to retreat. All of them had pale faces and were out of breath. At the same time, the clothes he was wearing also fell off, revealing his inner disciple's clothes. When everyone saw this, they immediately panicked. It's an inner sect senior brother. South inner court senior brother, Long Fei thought in his heart, as expected. Horcrux's gate. Could it be? Long Fei's eyes suddenly contracted, and at this moment, the aura of his body flipped, as he shouted, "Rumble." He thought of someone. In the cave of the fireball, he had beaten himself into a man who was seriously injured, Dong Qiankue. In an instant, the anger on Long Fei's body started to burn. The power of the dragon's body surged. The inner disciple's face suddenly sank. His pressure had been completely crushed. Not only that, a dragon had suddenly appeared in his mind. It was extremely uncomfortable. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead, his mind was trembling, as he stared at Long Fei. "Brat, you actually dare to retaliate? I'll take your dog life." He could not compete with Long Fei in terms of pressure, so he instantly took out his weapon and thrusted it at Long Fei. Long Fei's expression tightened, and said, "We don't even know who wants their life." Long Fei retaliated. At this moment, a thick body came from afar. "Stop." The corners of the inner court disciple's eyes trembled and he immediately stopped, not daring to make a move again. However, Long Fei did not care about all this, and threw a punch out. Bam! The inner disciple was sent flying 3 feet away. His abdomen was in pain and his face was pale. He got up from the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Both of his eyes stared straight at Long Fei. "Ah!" Dong Qiankue called out again, "Stop." The disciple gritted his teeth and pointed at Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the distant Dong Qiankue and his gaze sank. Could it be that Fang Wanpeng is dead? If that time wasn't for Fang Wanpeng, Long Fei would have already died. The fury in Long Fei's heart rose once again. Staring at Dong Qiankue, he walked forward step by step and said, "He's actually not dead yet?" As soon as he finished, the surrounding people were all shocked. How dare he speak to the Horcrux's Gate Hill Lord in such a manner? He was tired of living. Even the expression on the Pride and Amp, cool woman's face slightly changed as he quickly walked towards Long Fei. Seeing Long Fei walking towards him, the 2 white-haired old men beside Dong Qiankue moved slightly, and took a step forward. Powerhouse of the King Swordsman realm, their auras were exceptionally strong. Protect Dong Qiankue and create a safe zone. At the same time, the strong might of the King Swordsman rank continued to crush Long Fei. Every step Long Fei took was extremely difficult, but he did not stop. He was now 15 meters away from Dong Qiankue, from 30 meters, to 10 meters, to 5 meters. At a distance of 5 meters, Long Fei was no longer able to move forward. Right now, it was as if he was standing under a waterfall, and couldn't even take half a step forward. However, Long Fei never submitted. If he couldn't get through, then he would kill his way through. His eyes turned cold and murderous. However, just as he was about to make his move, a slightly chilly hand suddenly grabbed his arm. Long Fei turned to look. "Hi." She gently shook her head, signaling for Long Fei not to make a move. Dong Qiankue laughed coldly, and said, "What is it? Do you still want to make a move on me? You attacked me inside the fireball cave, and now you still want to kill me?" As soon as he finished, an uproar broke out. A few outer door presbyters were so scared that their faces turned pale and their legs trembled. "You want to kill the Horcrux's Gates sect leader?" This was a heinous crime. Even if all the elders of the outer sect were to add up, they wouldn't be able to carry it all. Long Fei also sneered, and said, "What? You want to snatch my fire essence?" Dong Qiankue's pupils constricted rapidly as he stared straight at Long Fei. From his sleeves, he clenched his fists tightly and killing intent burst out from his body. The 2 King Swordsman powerhouses beside him were also stunned. It stopped for a moment. The killing intent on Dong Qiankue disappeared as he laughed. "Do you know where we are? Ancient antiquity. Do you know who I am? The sect leader of the Horcrux's Gate. Do you think you can beat me?" Dong Qiankue laughed proudly. This was his territory, a mere outer sect disciple. He could kill him however he wanted. Since he found Long Fei, he was no longer in a hurry. Because, no matter how much Long Fei jumped, he could not jump onto the palm of his hand. It was just that. He did not understand Long Fei. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Do you know the oath I made when I first left the Fireball Cave? The next time we meet, I want your dog life. I'll take your dog life. I'll take your dog life." Long Fei emphasized these 4 words. The killing intent from his body also burst out instantly, heading straight for Dong Qiankui. Bang, bang. The pressure that was being emitted from Long Fei's body was directly pushed away by the 2 old men from King Swordsman rank. At this time, a outer door presbyter walked out anxiously, his eyes stared straight at Long Fei, and shouted, "Impudent! You are just an outer disciple, yet you dare to be so disrespectful to the Horcrux's Gates sect leader. What do you want to do? Do you want to go to heaven? Leave immediately." After outer door presbyter finished speaking, he bowed and apologized to Dong Qiankui. "I am very sorry, I was negligent in teaching you. Please forgive me, Mornaine Peak Lord Dong, one of the 7 peaks, the highest authority in the Horcrux's Gate. How could a mere outer court disciple offend him? He could not let Long Fei destroy the outer sect. Otherwise, Long Fei's death would be a small matter, and the outer sect would suffer for their lives." The corner of Dong Qiankui's mouth curled up, and he did not even look at outer door presbyter, but sneered at Long Fei. "Did you see that? You want my life? Even if I stand here for you to kill, you won't be able to. This is my territory, do you understand?" Dong Qiankui started laughing complacently after he finished speaking. "Ha ha ha." Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, and shouted out in his heart, "I still can't kill you." Just as he was about to release the power of the ancient dragon body, the aloof woman grabbed his arm again and lightly shook her head. Long Fei became angry and said, "Let go of me." "Pride and amp," cool woman said, "didn't you want to go on a mission with me? Come, I'll take you with me." Suddenly, Long Fei didn't know why she would stop him. Not only did she stop him, the way she looked at Long Fei had completely changed. It was no longer that cold and aloof look she had, but a different kind of look. Very strange. Outer door presbyter also said solemnly, "Brat, what are you trying to do? If you kneel down and beg Mornaine Peak Lord Dong for forgiveness now, you will be in a hurry, otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Long Fei did the same, and didn't even look at outer door presbyter once. Dong Qiankui laughed coldly. "Long Fei, you have 2 choices now, or you can just obediently listen to what I say. I will bring you into the inner sect and let you get whatever you want in ancient antiquity. Then it's over. I will make it hard for you to take even a single step in ancient antiquity." What he wanted was the highest grade fire soul. As long as Long Fei followed him back to the inner sect, he could do whatever he wanted to Long Fei to do. Outer door presbyter's gaze tightened and his heart secretly shook. He immediately said to Long Fei, "Did you hear that? Hurry up and thank Mornaine Peak Lord Dong." The surrounding crowd also burst into an uproar. Everyone thought that Long Fei would die. To offend an inner sect peak owner, yet he still didn't die. He never thought that Dong Qiankui would actually bring Long Fei into the inner sect. Even the outer door presbyter did not expect such a 180-degree turn. The way he spoke to Long Fei had even changed. Once one entered the inner sect, it would be a completely different story. Then it really would be heaven. Long Fei laughed. "What I want, I will take from you. What need for your charity? You want me to find it difficult to move an inch? You want me to live a life worse than death? Then let's give it a try." It was impossible to submit. It was impossible for him to submit in this life. He only wanted to kill Dong Qiankui now. Outer door presbyter's gaze tightened, and said angrily, "Brat, what are you trying to say? Are you crazy? So noisy." Dong Qiankui was slightly angered. Beside him, a white-haired old man glared at him. Buzz. An imposing aura was released, causing outer door presbyter's eyes to pop out. He immediately knelt on the ground, his knees split apart, and fresh blood spewed out from his face. He would be crushed to death. There wasn't even time to react. A outer door presbyter died just like that. The surrounding disciples paled from fright, and all of them retreated a few steps. No one dared to seek justice for the outer door presbyter. Because he was an inner sect peak owner. Their authority in the outer sect was as great as that of the heavens. Who would dare to offend him? Moreover, at this time, not a single word came out of their mouths. Many of the elders' faces were deathly pale and their legs were trembling. They simply didn't dare to step out. Comfortable. Dong Tiankue laughed. Now it's quiet. Long Fei's heart trembled. He didn't expect that with just a single sentence from Dong Tiankue, the King Swordsman powerhouse beside him would already be able to shake a outer door presbyter to death. It was a miserable death. This is the powerhouse. This was the person with the most power. This was the world as powerhouse was king. It didn't matter who you were. If you were displeased, you would be killed immediately. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. Dong Tiankue looked at Long Fei's nervous expression and laughed. Consider it again? Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Dong Tiankue said, I know that you want to enter the inner sect. I know that your brothers have been framed and heavily injured. I can help you take revenge. I can help you deal with your enemy. I can help you do whatever you want. Even if you don't need to participate in any tests, I can take you into the inner court and become an inner court disciple. As long as you kneel in front of me right now, obediently listen. I promise you that you will be glorious in the future. If the peak owner was the backer, then it would be exactly as he said. However, Dong Tiankue was someone on Long Fei's killing list. There was no room for maneuver. Moreover, kneel down. Be obedient. Just these few words alone, Long Fei wanted to kill him. Long Fei took a small step forward with his eyes narrowed, and said, I've said it before, I'll go get what I want myself. It's the same when I enter the inner sect. He doesn't only have the qualifications to be an inner court disciple. Also, your dog head. The two old men from King Swordsman rank stared. Boom. Boom. Two auras were released. Dong Tiankue squinted, and said indifferently, Stop. The old man was startled. An outer disciple was so arrogant and had asked for the head of the peak owner many times. How could he tolerate that? In the past, Dong Tiankue would have already gone berserk. And now he told them to stop. The corner of Dong Tiankue's mouth curled up as he stared at Long Fei and sneered, You're still thinking of killing me? Ha ha ha. You think you can kill me? If you kill me, do you think you'll be able to leave this place alive? Your brother, that servant of yours, will be able to live and enter the inner court? Ha ha ha. Dong Tiankue laughed complacently. You can choose the first choice at any time, you can kneel in front of me at any time, but before that, you should have a good taste of what it means to be unable to move an inch, and what it means to want to die and enter the inner court. Humph. With just you. You just wait and see. Ha ha ha. Dong Tiankue began to laugh loudly. He shot a cold glance at Long Fei, and killing intent seeped out of his eyes as he thought to himself, Kid, if it wasn't for me not knowing where the highest grade fire soul on your body was, you would have died long ago. After Dong Tiankue finished speaking, he did not stay any longer and turned around to leave. After Dong Tiankue finished speaking, he did not stay any longer and turned around to leave. Long Fei still wanted to make a move. However, among Dong Tiankue's words, he thought of Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dehan, and the others. If he did, if it was a level 4 ancient dragon body, killing Dong Tiankue shouldn't be a problem, but what about the consequences? He would be chased by the ancient antiquity. It didn't matter to him if he was alone, but he couldn't cut off his brother's future. Endure it. Long Fei thought to himself, if this wasn't a public place, you would already be a dead man. Watching Dong Tiankue leave, Long Fei felt extremely unhappy in his heart. The pride and cool woman beside him also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It was fortunate that Long Fei did not make a move. Long Fei looked at the high and cold girl. She withdrew her hand and her expression became ice-cold. Didn't you just say that you wanted to go out on a mission together? I'll take you. The attitude is a complete change. One had to know that Long Fei had just cut off her hair. To a girl, her hair was a very important thing. If her hair was cut off, how could she still treat Long Fei well? This brain of his was a little different from the norm. Long Fei didn't think too much and said, All right, There wasn't much time left, so he had to hurry. Just as they turned to leave, a voice came from inside the task palace. Let me know. For the 3 god-level missions, task reward points will become 200, and the special reward will be cancelled. For the 3 god-level missions, task reward points will become 200, and the special reward will be cancelled. One of the 3 god-level missions. A series of broadcasts. Can it still change my task reward? Stealing the heavenly court is too difficult, shouldn't I increase the rewards? Reduced the reward. No one can complete this mission, and the reward is reduced. Who has that kind of power? The only ones who can change their task reward are the Great Elder and Sect Master, and the 6 Great Peak Owner. Many people around them began whispering to each other. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The Pride and Amp, cool woman was a little angry and said, "Why did you change the reward?" This is too. Long Fei said solemnly, Dong Tiankue. Only him. He knows that I need task credit to participate in the inner sect examination. Dong Tiankue, you sure are F*** King Ruthless. Long Fei clenched his teeth, feeling extremely unwell. He desperately needed task credit. If he completed the mission to seize the Heavenly Court, he would have 900 points, which would be just enough for the 3 of them to take the exam. Now, his task credit had suddenly become 200, which was not even enough for him to register for the competition. This move from Dong Tiankue made it hard for Long Fei to move a single step. So what if the mission was completed? He didn't even have the qualifications to take the inner sect examination. Looking at Long Fei's angry expression, Pride and Amp, cool woman asked, "How much task credit do you still have left?" Long Fei laughed bitterly and said, 900 point. Pride and Amp, cool woman was taken aback, so many? Then this mission. It's just like he said, going against the inner sect peak owner. It's hard to even take a single step, why don't you give in to him? Long Fei shook his head, you think that just because I gave in, he will let me go? I have what he wants, and it's because of this thing that he didn't touch me. If this thing wasn't in my hands, he would have already done so. And, in my entire life, I, Long Fei, have never submitted. You want to stop me? He is not yet qualified. Long Fei said heavily, the task reward of the Heaven Seizing Court has indeed decreased, but the mission of the Heaven Punisher formation did not happen. Just the points accumulated for the last stage of the 3 great missions alone is a total of 1,500 point. Originally, Long Fei just wanted to complete the mission of seizing the heaven. From the looks of it, he had to complete the 2 god missions. Heaven Punisher, the hardest of the 3 tests. Long Fei didn't have a choice now. Pride and Amp, cool woman looked at Long Fei with a stunned expression. She did not expect that Long Fei would actually think of completing 2 divine missions within 3 days. Long Fei looked at her and said, "You are in charge of sending me to the secret world. As for the other things, I will think of a way on my own. You do not have to participate." Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "Since I'm bringing you along, then I should also be participating." Long Fei looked at her and said, "You should have enough points, right?" Pride and Amp, cool woman asked, "Why would you think that there are too many points? Let's go." The 2 of them stepped into the teleportation circle. With a flash of white light, they disappeared. After pausing for a few seconds, the 2 of them appeared in the teleportation circle outside the Nantian city. In another place. What did you just say? Long Fei, that dog survived. Didn't you say that you have turned into a vegetable? Lin Yuan was furious. He did not expect Long Fei to wake up and said heavily, those killers were really trash. He still thought that the reason why Long Fei turned into a vegetable was because he was sent out to kill him. He did not know that his killer was instantly killed by Long Fei before he could hold on for even a second. Zhongqi said, "Senior brother, do you want me to send more people to intercept them? The Heaven Fairyland is extremely difficult, I have tried it a few times, but did not have the chance to complete the mission. Even if he does not die, he would be heavily injured, and then, just like last time, you can easily take his life." Zhongqi was very confident. Moreover, besides the fierce person at the top of the outer court, he really didn't place anyone in his eyes. Long Fei was the same. Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and said, "Since it's like you said, then you don't have to go. Just send a few people to guard it, you have to prepare for the assessment." Lin Yuan had other arrangements for Zhongqi. Zhongqi nodded his head. "Understood, I will arrange it now." Lin Yuan waved his hand and said, "Go." After Zhongqi left, God's sword child walked out with the same displeased expression. "Didn't you say that brat would never wake up?" Lin Yuan said, "So what if I wake up? Do you think he will make it into the inner sect alive?" "Don't worry, the person that I, Lin Yuan, am going to deal with, no matter who he is, will not live, let alone a trash blood vein like him who wants to fight me." In your dreams. Lin Yuan was very confident. He wouldn't let Long Fei have any chance. The corners of God's sword child's mouth curled up as he smiled lightly. "Then I'll wait for your good news." At the entrance of the South Heaven Gate. One more step and it would be Heaven Fairyland. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman took a brief break and prepared all the spare items. Long Fei looked at her serious expression and could not help but ask, "I cut off your hair, aren't you angry?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman did not look at Long Fei, and said, "Angry." Long Fei said, "Then why are you still so concerned about me? You're still holding me back when I was facing Dong Tiankue? Are you in love with me? That's not right. I cut off your hair so you should hate me. Don't tell me you have a tendency to abuse me." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman glared fiercely at Long Fei, and said, "You're the one who is being masochistic, I just don't want to see you throw your life away." Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Do you really think that I will die at that time?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked at Long Fei. Although he did not say it, he muttered in his heart, "No way." He stepped into the Heaven Fairyland. He stepped into the Heaven Fairyland. Long Fei was stunned by the scene in front of him. Zombie? Damn. When Pride and Amp, Cool Woman walked in, his expression changed slightly. Looking at the corpse mountain not far away, he saw that every corpse was moving and struggling, as if they were not dead. What is the zombie? Long Fei looked at the enormous scarlet red eye at the peak of the corpse mountain and said, "It's a living corpse. Stealing the heavens? He should be trying to take that eye off, right?" Long Fei quickly analyzed, if it's just these living dead, then this mission won't be difficult, but... Long Fei looked around. He didn't think it was that simple. Ancient antiquity knew very little about the heavenly court. During this period of time, he did not have any effective strategy, he only said that it was filled with danger. What was the danger? I don't know. He did not state the criteria for completing the mission. However, it had to be related to that scarlet red eye. Immediately, Long Fei said, "You wait here first, I'll go down to check. If anything goes wrong, you can run away by yourself." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, "I know, I definitely won't care about you." Long Fei laughed. What a straightforward answer. "Alright, I'll go take a look first." Long Fei walked down the stairs. In an instant, sensing Long Fei's presence, the scarlet red eyes stared angrily, and the scarlet red flames in their pupils seemed to have ignited. At this moment, the zombies suddenly went into an uproar, all of them turning to look at Long Fei. Woo woo. Wow. Roar. In that moment, this group of zombies felt as if they had smelled fresh blood, and became completely excited, charging madly towards Long Fei without regard for their lives. Zombie tide. It came like a huge wave. It was exactly the same as the scene in the movie, and it was even more powerful inside. Every single zombie was not like the normal zombie, they were all zombies that had gone through the martial arts training before. The aura on his body was extremely oppressive. It brought with it an incomparably dense and ruthless aura. Long Fei looked at the huge eyes and muttered, "You can control these zombies, it seems like. It's you. All right." Long Fei's mind sank, he did not waste any more time, and with a thought, he ordered, "Three-rate dragon body, open." Boom. The aura that was released jolted. His body rumbled. A dragon's roar burst forth, and the energy and flames coiled around Long Fei's body like a huge dragon. Long Fei's body sank slightly as he leaned forward. He raised his eyes. Bam! He exerted force through his legs and his entire body was like a heavy tank charging forward at a lightning speed. The moment he rushed out, the ground began to tremble. Space itself exploded. He charged forward with an invincible strength. Bam! Bam! Bang! 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 The moment those zombies touched the aura on Long Fei's body, they immediately flew into the air, completely unable to withstand the crushing pressure of the dragon's body on Long Fei's body. Zombie flew into the sky. No one could stop him. When the zombie approached, they were immediately crushed by the power of Long Fei's body and were sent flying. How could this low-level zombie possibly stop the power of the three-rate ancient dragon body? At the same time, the notification sound in Long Fei's mind exploded crazily. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing zombie. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing zombie. As the system beep went berserk, Long Fei couldn't help but exclaim, if my experience leveling up, then I should at least level up a few levels in this wave. Ha ha ha. Couldn't help but to reminisce the time when his previous experience points had leveled up. Come. All of you must die. Ha ha ha. Long Fei laughed madly, as the number of zombies that surrounded him increased, until they looked like a thick wall of corpses. In the distance, Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked at Long Fei indifferently, and muttered to himself. I knew he was special, his strength was actually able to cut off my hair. She subconsciously touched her long hair, but it was all for nothing. This was because half of her hair had already been cut off. There was no resentment in her eyes, because the length of her hair was the same for her. Seeing the power on Long Fei's body break out, she mysteriously laughed for a bit. Boom. The huge crimson red eye was enraged, and it swept the red light with its huge eyes. Awoo! Red light flashed in the eyes of these zombies and their auras also changed in an instant. They became stronger and they no longer cared about their lives. Long Fei trembled, and said, it can even instantly level up. It seems like this guy is not even half as strong. A divine treasure. When the zombie became excited, Long Fei also became excited. To be able to make all these zombies level up with just a glance, it definitely showed that this thing was very powerful. It's mine. Long Fei's three-rate dragon body's aura did not weaken in the slightest. To him, three-rate dragon body was no longer a problem. If he could hold on for a long time, dealing with these zombies was not a problem. Training in his consciousness. His 5 revolutions body was no longer an ordinary body. If it was an ordinary body, at Long Fei's level, he really wouldn't be able to support the three-rate dragon body. The power of the three-rate dragon body could completely crush zombie, and even these zombies' level increase were useless, just that they could not stop Long Fei. Long Fei acted as if there was no one around. The giant red eye began to panic, its pupils blinking non-stop. Suddenly, rumble, rumble, rumble. With the pressure in the sky, the gravitational system suddenly changed as Long Fei's body sank. Thunder clouds covered the sky. A thick voice resounded, puny human, boom. A bolt of lightning struck down from the thick thunderclouds. The moment the lightning struck the ground, the zombie was instantly reduced to smithereens. Is this the rhythm of a sky lightning zombie? The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up, and he looked towards the sky. Puny human? Then let's see who is more humble. Rise. With a shake of his right foot, Long Fei shot straight into the clouds. Rumble. Rumble. The sound of thunder exploded. The instant Long Fei rushed into the sky, thunder and lightning raged and the sounds coming from the clouds also exploded. Annihilating lightning field, boom, hualala. Crack, crack, crack. As the lightning heavily struck down, Long Fei's eyes darkened and he laughed coldly. Is it just lightning of this level? It's not even enough to tickle lousy. He didn't dodge at all. His current physical body was at the 5th circulation. With the addition of the three-rate dragon body, if he could not even withstand this kind of lightning, then his 1 month of training would have been in vain. Boom. Boom. Bolts of lightning landed on his body, but did not cause him any damage at all. Each lightning strike was an MIS. This feeling. It was as if he was a boss. It didn't matter how many bolts of lightning it was, Even Long Fei's defense couldn't be broken. Whoosh! Boom! Long Fei immediately charged into the clouds. Sweeping across with his golden dragon eyes, he attracted the attention of an elder dressed in plain clothes. His body flickered and instantly appeared in front of the old man. His hand gripped the old man's throat as he coldly laughed. Who is more despicable now? He pinched the old man's throat with his 2 fingers and said with a look of contempt, "Who is more humble?" He pinched the old man's throat with his 2 fingers and said with a look of contempt, "Who is more humble?" The old man was also a zombie. It was just that his level was relatively high and he had a magic tool in his hand. Moreover, he has a certain amount of intelligence and is able to speak. When she saw Long Fei suddenly rush towards her, she was instantly grabbed by the throat. Was her life hanging by a thread? The old man laughed, his eyes revealing an expression of Long Fei not knowing his place, and said, "Humans are the lowliest existences. You think you can kill me? You think you've won now? Ha ha ha. Lowly human, you don't even know where this place is. You don't even know who you're going to fight against. Ha ha ha." The old man laughed maniacally, his laughter making people shiver. Long Fei was extremely unhappy. Fuck. With an angry roar, his 2 fingers pinched the old man's throat, and with a slight movement of the dragon's body, he let out a peng. The old man's body turned into powder. Long Fei said, "Can't kill? There is no one that I can't kill. No matter if you are a zombie, or some other kind of corpse, being crushed into dust means at least death, right?" However, what made Long Fei a little surprised was, the system did not sound out a notification. This meant that the old man was still alive. Damn. Long Fei was slightly shocked. At this moment, on the other side of the cloud layer, the elder laughed sinisterly. "I've said it before, you can't kill me. Ha ha ha." It was perfectly fine. He didn't receive any damage at all. Long Fei stared at him and said, "This wave of manipulation is not bad. But..." Bam! His body burst forth, and instantly appeared in front of the old man, super power boxing. Bam! The old man's head exploded with a single punch. The old man's body fell from the clouds in an instant. Under such circumstances, he should have been killed instantly, but the system beep still did not ring. What the F***? K. Endless revival? Long Fei was puzzled. In the clouds, the old man appeared again. Ha ha ha. A lowly human wants to kill me? Ha ha ha. I can only say that you are very lowly. F***ck. Long Fei was very unhappy, so arrogant. The old man laughed disdainfully. "So what if a lowly human like you has some power? You want to kill me? Ha ha ha. The only thing that can be said is that I should dream on, and you think you can live now? Ha ha ha. Look at where you are now." The old man laughed excitedly. Long Fei looked at the place where he was floating. At the center of a hexagram. "Huh." Long Fei said, "Formation?" The old man laughed. "That's right, it's really a formation, a undead array. Do you think you can crush my body every time? Every time I move, I set up a formation. Otherwise, do you think you can kill me?" The old man was very arrogant. Long Fei muttered, "Your body? Seems like you have a lot of physical body. And is there something inside your body every time you die? The magic tool in your hand? There is no such thing as absolute immortality in this world. Even gods would die." The reason why they couldn't kill him was because the method was incorrect. The old man was too arrogant. He arrogantly said a few key words, allowing Long Fei to find out what his problem was. The old man's gaze tensed up, and he laughed coldly. "So what if I know this? You think you can move now? Bring it on. Undead Emperor, show yourself. Roar." The old man's eyes opened wide as he channeled all of his power into the magic tool. As the magic tool swung, rays of light of death shot out from the hexagram and directly enveloped Long Fei. The old man laughed. "You are the first one to let me activate the undead formation. You should feel honored to die here. More than 10 days ago, there were 2 brats that entered the clouds. It was just that. They thought they were smart enough to fly above the clouds, But they didn't know that this was the most dangerous place. Ha ha ha. Long Fei's pupils contracted as he asked, "One of them is a big guy, and the other one is very skinny?" The elder replied, "Yes." "Damn it. You're the one who hurt them like that." Long Fei was raging in his heart. The old man laughed and said, "They were lucky enough to be able to roll and crawl out. As for you, I'm going to die here. Ha ha ha. Lord Beholder that controls life and death, please bestow me power." Buzz. The scarlet-red giant eye moved, and light enveloped the old man's body. In an instant, the elder's aura suddenly changed as the magical artifact in his hand flashed with scarlet light. The elder's eyes also turned blood-red as he smiled sinisterly and said, "Come, Lord Death God, come out." Boom. In the center of the hexagram, the light of death constantly radiated outwards. Suddenly, a scythe of death rose first from the hexagram, followed by a death god whose entire body was wreathed in the flames of death. From their vantage point, the two black pupils stared at Long Fei. The sickle in their hands suddenly swung towards Long Fei's head. "Death! I would like to see what ability you have." Long Fei's forehead turned sinister. The 6-point star carried a kind of boundary power as it bound him to the 6-point star. Long Fei did not want to break boundary. He just wanted to see what kind of power this so-called death god had. He raised his eyes and stared at the death scythe that was coming down. A sharp light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "Come!" Boom. The dragon's roar shook. The light that exploded out of Long Fei's eyes immediately shook the Grim Reaper, and the sickle in his hand trembled slightly. It was directly crooked. The old man was stunned. What's going on?" Long Fei glared at him. "You think you're a god of death? More or less like a dead ghost." As soon as he finished, Long Fei flew to the head of Death God and punched down. Bang! The Reaper's eyes burned with black flames as he used his sickle to block, not daring to retaliate at all. Long Fei didn't care about all that. Punches and punches violently struck down. Death was not going to give him any chance to take a breather. Bang, bang, bang. His body slowly sank into the hexagram. "Scram back where you came from." Long Fei's fist struck the death god's head. In the end, the death god threw away the death scythe and ran away, trying to hide away. He was completely unable to endure Long Fei's fist attack. His body completely submerged into the hexagram, and in the end, he stretched out his hand and touched the death scythe. He quickly slipped away. The old man could not accept this series of images. I summoned a fake death god." Bam! Long Fei stood in front of the old man. This time, he did not pinch the old man's throat, but instead directly pinched the magical equipment that was emitting a scarlet glow in his hand. The old man's eyes narrowed. "No." Bam! After the magic tool was broken, Long Fei coldly said, "Follow Death God." The old man's pupils rapidly shrank as his magic tool shattered. His magic tool shattered. His body split open without waiting for Long Fei to attack, and he screamed out in pain, "Master, save me." Bam! His entire body turned into powder. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Thunder God. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Thunder Beast artifact. The magic tool in the old man's hand exploded. However, a magic tool of this level was no longer of any use to Long Fei. With the old man's death, all the thunderclouds in the surroundings dispersed. Long Fei looked at the distant scarlet-red gigantic eyes. The scarlet-red giant eye was also staring at him. Moreover, its eyes emitted a red light. The red light was like a searchlight as it swept over. Hualala! 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 The place where the red light swept past was covered in ashes, and those zombies were instantly turned into fine powder. It was too valiant. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman shouted loudly, "Be careful, Eye of Destruction! Eye of Destruction!" This was the name of the giant red eye. It could bewitch people's hearts, could also turn corpses into zombies, and could give these zombie power. However, these were not its true strength. Its true strength was its destruction. The zombie was unable to stop Long Fei, and the Thunder Shakyamuni was also dead. This made the Eye of Destruction very angry and released the power of destructive light. Long Fei saw that the zombie on the ground didn't have time to react at all before turning into powder, and his brows tightened. The Annihilation Light's firing speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was about to land on him. Long Fei did not dodge. Instead, he stretched out a hand to probe three-rate dragon body. Rumble. The instant his arm touched the light of destruction, white smoke came out of his arm, and his skin immediately became black. F***CK. Long Fei's pupils constricted and his body shot out in an instant. He quickly jumped away. Can't even block the three-rate dragon body? The heck? Isn't that a little too cruel? The power of the three-rate dragon body was extremely strong, but when it came into contact with the light of destruction, it was unable to resist. Although he did not turn into smithereens like zombie, just this slight damage was enough to prove everything. Very strong. Its destructive power was extremely sharp. This made Long Fei exceptionally excited. I have to. Long Fei stared intently at the Eye of Destruction, grinned, and said, Eye of Destruction, right? Hee. You are louses. Bam. Rank 4 dragon body, open. Rumble. 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 Explosions resounded inside Long Fei's body, and the dragon cry wreaked havoc. The dragon phantom on his body seemed to have become more corporeal. Moreover, his body was covered with the light of the Dragon Emperor. Streams of immense energy were released from his body. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. Bang, bang, bang. The space around the fist was exploding. At this moment, Long Fei's entire body was enveloped by a ball of golden light. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was startled. What kind of power is this? This power. She frowned and murmured to herself after a few seconds of silence, this is not a power that the mortal world can possess. Could it be? She looked at Long Fei with narrowed eyes, a reincarnated powerhouse of the divine space? He was slightly startled. However, her expression wasn't that shocked, it was just that she was slightly startled. Moreover, she faintly smiled and said, I just don't know what ancient clan it is. Look at the gigantic dragon phantom on his body, could it be the dragon race? If it's the dragon clan. She narrowed her eyes slightly and stopped talking. The smile on her face instantly disappeared. The dragon form of the 4th rank was activated. The aura on Long Fei's body was completely different, as though a golden immortal had descended into the world. This daddy's time is limited. I'm not talking to you anymore. Boom. In the blink of an eye, he had already landed on the mountain peak, right in front of the Eye of Destruction. The gigantic crimson-red pupils suddenly contracted as it stared at Long Fei. Immediately, the light of destruction also enveloped Long Fei's body. Long Fei did not move, and said, merely one eye, do you want to overturn the heavens? There were no injuries on Long Fei's body. Not at all. Moreover, the destructive light shone on his body, but it could not even harm the golden light that radiated from his body. This was the difference between a 3-rate dragon body and a rank 4 dragon's body. The Eye of Destruction panicked inwardly. Long Fei laughed coldly, and said, you're the one who should be more honest. Or should I do it? If I were to do it, your eyeballs would probably pop out. The Eye of Destruction glared angrily. The destructive light was like a laser. The powerful energy was so strong that even if one followed it for 100,000 kilometers, they would still be able to see the strength stripes clearly. Damn. You're looking for a beating, right? Long Fei rubbed the bridge of his nose, then I'll break your eyeballs. Bam. With a leap, he directly charged into the group of Eye of Destruction. Buzz. The Eye of Destruction was incomparably huge, and Long Fei was like an ant standing in front of it. After rushing into the Eye of Destruction, it was as if Long Fei had rushed into a gigantic secret world. Destruction was everywhere. Although Long Fei had the protection of the power of a rank 4 dragon, he could still feel the powerful destructive aura around him. Any one of these auras could cause someone's death. I was wondering, who could pass such a mission? That person who is sick from eating too much will post such a mission? This is just sending people to their deaths. Long Fei couldn't understand. If not for him, any disciple who entered this place would probably have been devoured by the destructive power. This mission was impossible to complete. The person who posted this quest was really a brainless person. Rumble. Rumble. The destructive power surged, and continuously surrounded Long Fei. Long Fei's right fist sank, boom. The infinite boxing was summoned. With a clench of his fist, a rumbling sound could be heard. With an explosive sound, Long Fei's body moved, and his fist fiercely smashed down. You dare to act arrogantly with your father? Bam! Zhong Xian's eyes darkened. The Eye of Destruction wailed. The power of destruction? Let's destroy one of them and take a look. Rumble. With another punch, the Eye of Destruction began to rapidly tremble, and the entire Heaven Fairyland also began to shake rapidly. Arrogant. No matter how arrogant you are. Bang, bang, bang. Punch, punch, punch. His eyes were splitting open. The entire Heaven Fairyland was also collapsing non-stop, and the zombie were wailing in pain. The Pride and Amp, cool woman looked at the Eye of Destruction quietly and muttered, I never thought that even the destructive power could resist it. Is there such a genius in the dragon race? The power of a reincarnated body was not strong. If it was strong, then there was no point in it being reincarnated, but the power Long Fei unleashed was too strong. Pride and Amp, cool woman looked into the sky and muttered, is this an arrangement by the dragon race? Or was it Long Wushan's arrangement? Rumble. Rumble. Break for me. Long Fei's right arm sank, and a dark yellow light flashed from the glove as he punched it heavily. Crack. The pupil of his eyes split open. The power of annihilation frantically spread out. The Eye of Destruction could no longer control it. Hualala. Its eyes split open, and its huge eye sockets collapsed. The last part of its eye sockets cracked open, as it was completely unable to withstand Long Fei's critical strike. With the power of the level 4 dragon body coupled with the infinite boxing's critical strike, even the destructive force was unable to withstand it. Rumble. The huge eye crumbled and Long Fei slowly walked out of it. Explosions came from behind him one after another and they were extremely intense. Long Fei did not turn back. The scene was very eye-catching. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Eye of Destruction. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Eye of Destruction. Do you wish to fuse it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining one thread of destruction lore. The system sounded out a few times. One of them, the extreme system, actually dropped 2 items. Long Fei did not look at the Eye of Destruction. Even Eye of Destruction S were of no use to him. Long Fei focused on the destruction lore, looked at its attributes, and muttered to himself, it could actually fuse a weapon, and carry a 100% destructive strike. F*CK. Isn't this a little abnormal? Destruction lore. An abnormal power with a destructive strike could be channeled into one's strength, or also into one's weapon. Once it was released, that person would be instantly killed. A bit like the law of annihilation. However, the power of the destruction law gave Long Fei a feeling that it was even stronger than the law of annihilation. Dao technique. Is there another kind of stronger power? Is it stronger than the power of law? Long Fei muttered in his heart, this can be considered as my trump card. In the future, even if my body cannot hold the ancient dragon body, I will still have the ability to protect myself. If only I could meet Emperor Xian, I would have directly blown him to death. What a pity. Unfortunately, it was only a strand of Daoist magic. He could only use it once, or else. Long Fei sighed in his heart, feeling pity. Thinking about Emperor Xian, Long Fei couldn't help but look up to the sky. I have to rush to the divine world as soon as possible. He was still a mortal being of the ancient world, so he couldn't even come into contact with the upper divine world. This kind of the world of mortal world wouldn't even be able to meet the Emperor Xian. If he wanted to kill the Emperor Xian, he had to step into the divine space. Thus, this time he had to enter the inner sect, and enter the divine space through the inner sect. Long Quang warned, Master, the competition for the God of Boundary is about to start. If you want to meet the Emperor Xian, you need to have enough capital, and only then will you have the qualifications to participate. There's still a long way to go. Long Fei said solemnly. There was still a long way to go. Right now, what Long Fei wanted to do was to walk the path in front of him and enter the inner sec. The Eye of Destruction disappeared. Zombie also instantly fell to the ground, turning into a pile of corpses. After losing the power of the Eye of Destruction, they would be crippled. Long Fei walked towards the Pride and Amp, cool woman. She also walked toward Long Fei, her eyes not filled with much shock, but rather very calm. Long Fei was a little surprised, and said, "Could it be that you weren't captivated by my handsomeness?" The Pride and Amp, cool woman smiled and said, "I didn't realize how handsome you are. Damn, why am I so defeated? I was so sharp just now that I should have mesmerized a bunch of girls." Long Fei joked. Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "You really did it. Look around, not only are there girls, there are also a lot of men." She looked at Zombie who had just fallen down. Long Fei laughed, feeling that the Pride and Amp, cool woman was not ordinary. If it was only an outer sect disciple, needless to say, he would definitely be shocked to the point of complete chaos. Even if he wasn't captivated by him, he would still reveal an incomparably shocked expression. Long Fei took out Eyes of Destruction and said, "I'll give you this task reward. You can go back first." Huh. Pride and Amp, cool woman looked at the Eye of Destruction in Long Fei's hand, took a glance, and said, "I don't want it." Long Fei said, "Take it, we'll go back first." Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "You want to enter the next trial?" Long Fei said, I will accept both missions. The reward points for stealing the Heavenly Court's mission is completely useless to me, just treat it as the fee for me riding on your teleportation formation. The mission of seizing the Heavenly Court was simply impossible for ordinary disciples. Being the last of the three gods, the task of killing the gods must be even more difficult. Long Fei did not want anyone by his side to be tied up. Pride and Amp, cool woman replied, "It's just 200 points. I don't need them." Finished. She strode towards the entrance of the Heaven Punisher. Long Fei said, "Really?" Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "No, I didn't enter here for the sake of the points, but to see if I can truly enter the divine space." Long Fei looked at her back. Tall and slender, the tight clothes tightly wrapped around her body. The way she twisted and turned her butt. It could only be described with one word, wow. Pride and Amp, cool woman seemed to have guessed that Long Fei was staring at her body and couldn't help but say coldly, "Have you seen enough?" Hiss. Long Fei sucked on his saliva that was about to spill out, and said, "How can I see enough of this?" Pride and Amp, cool woman paused for a moment. "If it was before, your eyes would no longer be there." Long Fei said, "If it were in the past, I would have already ridden you under." "What about in the past?" Pride and Amp, cool woman turned and glared at Long Fei coldly. In the next second, he looked like he was about to pounce on her. Long Fei immediately laughed, "It's just a joke, don't be serious." Pride and Amp, cool woman turned his voice and continued to walk forward. He said coldly, "The next stage is the Heaven Punisher formation. No one has ever entered here before. According to the name of the mission, there should be Empyrean gods within it." Long Fei asked, "What is a god? Are they the immortals in the sky?" The Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "The miniature image of the powerhouse in the divine space, or perhaps the powerhouse in the divine space, they are guarding a certain entrance in a certain secret world. Of course, it might not be so." Long Fei said, "You know a lot, don't you? Your cultivation is also very special. Are you really an Empyrean god?" Pride and Amp, cool woman trembled slightly. Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he laughed, "Ha ha ha. If you are a god, then I am a god, ha ha ha." Pride and Amp, cool woman glared at Long Fei coldly and continued to walk forward. Long Fei secretly laughed in his heart, and said, "What is your purpose for coming here? Me? Or was it the little girl, Phoenix? No matter what kind of goal you have, if you dare to touch Phoenix, no matter who you are, no matter how beautiful you are, you will still die." With Long Quang here, how could Long Fei not know about the Pride and Amp, cool woman? Long Quang had long told Long Fei about the special characteristics of the pride and amp, cool woman. It was just that Long Fei pretended not to know anything. The pride and amp, cool woman was a god. The sudden appearance of a god in the outer sect of ancient antiquity forced Long Fei to be cautious. The sudden appearance of a god in the outer sect of ancient antiquity forced Long Fei to be cautious. With those men in black, specializing in dealing with phoenixes, Long Quang had said that the phoenix and the special beast had phoenix king blood. This was a rare occurrence in the divine phoenix clan, as her blood vein was extremely powerful. The powerhouse in the divine space all had the physique of a god, but towards the stronger powers, they were like bloodthirsty sharks and wouldn't let go of the phoenix. Adding the lack of momentum from the Phoenix Valley and the dragon race, they would have even less of a fear. Besides dealing with Phoenix, the other possibility was to deal with himself. Long Fei was not afraid against him. Even. He was still very excited. There was only one person who wanted to deal with him, the Emperor Xian. If the aloof lady was here to deal with him, that would mean that she was directly connected to the Emperor Xian, and might be able to find out the location of the Emperor Xian. This was very beneficial to Long Fei. However, the aloof woman did not reveal any of her intentions for coming to ancient antiquity. Let's go in together. The aloof woman stood at the entrance of the mountain peak where the Eye of Destruction was. It was a portal surrounded by light. Inside was the final test of the three gods' mission. God of Heaven's secret world. It was rumored that the heavenly god secret world could directly enter the divine space. Is it true or not? You'll know soon enough. Long Fei walked up to stand in a row with Pride and Amp, cool woman, and directly held onto her hand, and said, sure. Pride and Amp, cool woman wanted to pull back his hand, but Long Fei held it tightly. Moreover, the moment she was grabbed by Long Fei's hand, she felt a strange feeling. A feeling she had never experienced before was also something she had never experienced before. Very special. It was a little wonderful. Her heart pounded uncontrollably a few times. However, she calmed down in less than a second. When Long Fei stepped into the portal, she was also led in by Long Fei. Buzz. The teleportation light surrounded the two of them. In a few seconds, a dim light shone onto their faces. Long Fei opened his eyes and looked around him. The sun was setting. The setting sun was like fire, covering half of the sky. The clouds were fiery clouds, and a dark red radiance enveloped the entire sky palace. Beautiful. Beautiful beyond compare. The surroundings were filled with all sorts of magnificent buildings. These pavilions were all suspended in the sky. Above the clouds, every building was dazzling in gold and jade, as if they were gods. It looked like the heavenly court in the movie world with just a glance. Long Fei muttered, so beautiful. Pride and Amp, cool woman's expression also slightly shook as he was captivated by the scene before him. The two held hands as the setting sun shone on their faces, as if they were lovers. This kind of scenery, this kind of beauty, it really made one feel relaxed and happy. At this moment, boom. An explosive sound resounded in the air as a golden light flashed. A huge pressure attacked over, and with a heavy sound, it said, "Who dares to enter the God of Heaven's secret world?" Buzz. The divine pressure came crushing down. Long Fei's heart sank, his entire body was almost crushed by the pressure, it was extremely uncomfortable. The cold woman's body only trembled slightly, but she did not suffer much pressure. She was a god herself. The divine pressure wasn't any special power to her. Seeing Long Fei's pale face, the Pride and Amp, cool woman said indifferently, "You can't even withstand this kind of pressure?" The meaning in his words was, "Aren't you the god of heaven? Why can't you withstand this kind of pressure? This is only the most basic. Could it be an act?" The dragon race was also an existence of the gods in the divine space. In fact, in a certain era, the dragon race was the strongest race of the gods. Long Fei said, "Do I look like I'm faking it?" Pride and Amp, cool woman raised his right hand, dispelling quite a bit of the divine pressure that was crushing down on Long Fei's body. He said, "You are that weak. I've been despised." Furthermore, He had been looked down upon by a beauty. Long Fei said, "That's right, I'm already so weak. Beautiful sister, hurry up and protect me." After he finished speaking, Long Fei was about to press his body into the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's chest. Because Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was really a little high, taller than Long Fei by a head. With Long Fei leaning on her, he could only lean on her chest. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes turned cold. Had already touched her bottom line, and now he was leaning on her chest. She said coldly, "Do you want to die?" Long Fei grinned and said, "To be able to die in your hands is already worth it." He did not stop and continued leaning on it. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes flashed with killing intent. Long Fei acted as if he did not see anything, leaning on Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's chest like a rogue. "I'm so scared." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was about to erupt, his teeth chattering loudly. The power on his palms surged, as if slapping Long Fei to death with one palm. But right at this moment, as the golden light descended, a guard clad in shining golden armor descended. He held a long blade in his hand. He was extremely gorgeous, and his entire body was shining with golden light. Long Fei saw this scene. Wow. Gudong. He immediately swallowed his saliva and jumped out from Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's chest. He calmed himself down and stared at Golden Armor God with glowing eyes, and in his heart he said excitedly, "Damn, boss." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman shivered slightly, rejecting the killing intent that rushed up. With a wave of the Golden Armor God's long blade, he pointed at Long Fei and bellowed, "Who are you? How dare you enter the Heavenly God's secret world? I'll give you 10 seconds, get the hell out of here." His tone was filled with contempt. They had never placed Long Fei and Pride and Amp, Cool Woman in their eyes at all. Long Fei stared at Golden Armor God and started to drool. The degree of this golden light is really different. So Empyrean gods are indeed Empyrean gods. When Pride and Amp, Cool Woman saw Long Fei's perverted look, she was startled in her heart. Could it be that he has a hobby of being obsessed with Long Yang? Seeing Golden Armor God was even more exciting than seeing her. This made her a little depressed. When Golden Armor God saw Long Fei's expression, he was extremely angry and shouted, "Did you not hear what I just said?" Rumble. The long hilt blade in his hand trembled as a powerful shockwave was released. A strength stripes that could be seen with the naked eye, and the might of the god, heavily struck towards Long Fei. Very strong. The aloof woman's eyes narrowed. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said excitedly, "How could I not hear something so loud? But since Laozi is here, how can I not bring something back?" Heh. Heaven Punisher? Do you mean to kill every single deity here? The smile on Long Fei's face became sinister. He stared at Golden Armor God, and then looked at the powerful pressure heading towards him. The space between his eyebrows deepened as he inwardly shouted, "Three-rate ancient dragon body, open." He didn't say anything. First open the three-rate ancient dragon body, and then. Long Fei's body sank, his eyes staring at Golden Armor God as he instantly rushed out, a frontal confrontation. Long Fei had seen a lot of beautiful women. Long Fei had seen a lot of beautiful women. Every single one of his women were gorgeous beauties that could cause the downfall of nations. Beautiful women were very important. However, at a time like this, the boss was even more important. This was especially important for top-grade bosses whose bodies were glowing with a golden light. He had no time to tease Pride and Amp, Cool Woman now. The only thing he wanted now was to kill this boss. The three-rate ancient dragon body opened. Dragons roared. The aura around Long Fei's body suddenly changed, as the gigantic dragon simulacrum enveloped his body. In an instant, he looked like a completely different person. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman frowned, activating Dragon Clan mode? Bam! Rumble. Charging towards the thick suppressive force of the god, Long Fei's body paused for half a second, and didn't get crushed like before. Break through the pressure. Long Fei laughed excitedly. With a flip of his right hand, a small dagger appeared in his palm. Golden Armor God glared, "How dare a scumbag act rashly in front of me? You overestimate yourself." The long blade in his hand sank down, and his body leaned forward slightly. Explode! A golden light burst out from the ground, and Golden Armor God instantly charged forward, turning into a golden lightning bolt. Die! A soft sound was heard. He leaped into the air, raised the golden blade in his hand, and slashed down onto Long Fei's head. Hualala! Bang, bang, bang! The golden blade sliced through the air, golden rays of light scattering in all directions, and the sound of muffled thunder could be heard. This power! It was a bit too fierce. Long Fei looked up, his eyes darkened, seeing the Golden Armor God coming down at him. There was no fear in his eyes, but instead excitement. The boss is the boss. Strength is indeed extraordinary. Who? Letting out a light breath, Long Fei did not just stand there and wait for death. Boom! The divine lightning in his hand moved slightly, hiding in his sleeve. His right hand sank, infinite boxing. Boom! A thick gauntlet covered his fist as he punched forward. The golden blade slashed down in anger. The endless fists clashed head-on. Rumble! 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 A series of energy shockwaves burst out as a golden light burst out. Long Fei's arm was almost chopped off. Although the infinite boxing was not injured, Long Fei's body was still pressed down from midair. The golden blade heavily slashed at the glove, and both of Golden Armor God's hands pressed down heavily. Hualala! Hualala! His body dropped down vertically. Bam! Long Fei landed on the ground and the ground sank. A powerful energy shockwave was ejected out and Long Fei's knees bent. His entire body could not help but tremble. He could not withstand the power of this move. His body slowly bent. Golden Armor God was proud. Even a low-level being like you dares to be presumptuous in front of me? Hee hee. Long Fei sneered. Golden Armor God shouted, you still dare to laugh? I told you to use your soul flying. Golden Armor God was very unhappy. The power in his hand suddenly increased, pressing down so hard that Long Fei couldn't even lift his arm. Laugh. Let's see how you laugh then. You're just an ant. Golden Armor God glared at Long Fei with anger in his eyes, extremely pleased with himself. Pride and amp, cool woman squinted, she was going to attack. However, right at this moment, Long Fei's body sank, and he immediately pulled back his hand. His body blurred, and walk-like snakeskin instantly appeared behind Golden Armor God. The space between Golden Armor God's eyebrows tightened and the golden light around his body surged. His defense was heaven-defying as he yelled, still trying to run. His defense was strengthened, preventing Long Fei from launching a sneak attack. Similarly, he thought that Long Fei wanted to escape. Flee? Heh. I, Long Fei, do not know how to write the word flee. Divine lightning. Break. The divine thunder dagger under his sleeve moved, stabbing towards the back of Golden Armor God heavily. Rumble. The divine lightning dagger had its own special attribute, Thunder God's Wan. As the dagger stabbed down, thunder exploded forth and lightning rampaged through the world. Golden Armor God laughed coldly. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. You have no idea how high the sky is. Kill me. I am an Empyrean god. How can an ant like you kill me? If I give you 10,000 years, don't even think of hurting a single hair on my head. Ha ha ha. Golden Armor God laughed crazily. Because he was a god. How could a human brat from the mortal world kill him? If even a mortal kid could kill him, then he wouldn't be an Empyrean god. Ha. Laugh to your heart's content. Long Fei's hands exploded with power. Boom. The divine lightning stabbed into the golden light. Buzz. The golden light enveloping Golden Armor God's body suddenly disappeared. All that was left was the golden armor. When the divine lightning dagger pierced through the golden armor God's eyes darkened. He glared at the dagger, wanting to counterattack. Long Fei did not give him the chance. Bam! It pierced down heavily. One hit kill. Crack. The dagger pierced through Golden Armor God's body completely, and in that moment, Xuan Bai's light shot out from within the 7 deadly swords. This was lightning. The power of lightning that the divine lightning released from his body. Ah! Ah! Golden Armor God let out a painful howl, his body spasmed crazily, his expression warped, and his entire body compressed. The blood on top of his head started dripping down. 83233474 inch 81382893 8223222132. All sorts of exploding damage floated up from the top of Golden Armor God's head. Even Long Fei himself was stunned. Damn. Godly Thunder Cow. This is really a one-hit kill, king of the short soldiers. The strongest weapon in close combat. Adding the divine lightning attribute. Truly awesome. The Pride and Amp, cool woman that changed was also stunned. It could be said to be because Long Fei killed Golden Armor God, but it was because of the divine lightning in his hands, this dagger. Even if you were to put it in the divine space, it would not be an ordinary product. The rewards for instance dungeons were very special. This was also why Long Fei had always insisted on training in the refined space. The rewards of an instance dungeon were too awesome. Seeing that the blood groove on Golden Armor God's head had become 0, and that Golden Armor God's body was also shrinking, only a set of armor remained, not even a body remained. It was rather strange. Long Fei thought of the Thunder Lord within the Heaven Fairyland, and thought to himself, could it be that he didn't kill it? Just as he was worrying, the system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Golden Armor God. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a strand of godly power. The notification sound ended. Long Fei was startled. System your head. No matter what, you're still a god. Did you drop something? A strand of divine power? Long Fei was very unhappy with this rate. Isn't that a bit too much? At this time, Pride and Amp, cool woman walked up and looked at the golden armor on the ground before saying indifferently, he is a fake god. Long Fei was depressed. He looked at Pride and Amp, cool woman, and asked, God of Heaven, what else is fake? What the heck is this world? Fake god. Fake god. Fake. Damn. I was just saying, if it really is the God of Heaven, how could there be such rubbish? Long Fei said angrily. At the same time, he walked to the golden armor, picked it up and placed it in the space ring S. The golden armored armor was not high, it could not be considered divine level armor, but it could also be considered as sub-divine level armor. It was not bad for Bailey Tianhai and the others to use. We can't waste it. The Gao Lung goddess glanced at Long Fei. Her eyes turned slightly cold and filled with disdain. Long Fei said, what's wrong? Are you looking down on me? The Pride and Amp, cool woman said, you can even kill the fake god, what do you need this junk for? Is it necessary? Long Fei said, it's necessary, it's very necessary. I pick up the equipment of the people I kill, I think it's very necessary. It's you though. Long Fei's voice turned as his 2 fingers pulled at his chin, sizing up the aloof woman with great interest. His eyes narrowed slightly, and laughed sinisterly a few times. He. Pride and Amp, cool woman asked, what are you laughing about? Long Fei said, I think you're very special. Pride and Amp, cool woman asked, what's so special about me? Long Fei asked, how do you know his from the fake god? Have you ever seen a deity? Do you know what a true Empyrean god is? In the mortal world, there are only a few people who stand at the peak of the pyramid who have seen Empyrean gods. Don't even mention a mere outer disciple of yours, you've met Empyrean gods before. Long Fei laughed. He knew that the Pride and Amp, cool woman's identity was special, but he wanted to know something from her. However, Pride and Amp, cool woman did not even bother to answer his question. Sneering coldly, he continued, I've never met a god who does not need to report to you, right? The tone of his voice was both high and cold. It was disdainful to explain anything to Long Fei. Pride and Amp, cool woman walked down the stairs and headed towards the heavenly palace. Long Fei. Long Fei was startled for a few seconds, then muttered, damn, I do not believe it. Looking at Pride and Amp, cool woman's alluring back view, under the light of the setting sun, her body also seemed to be glowing brilliantly, like an angel. Long Fei swallowed his saliva and followed along. As the two of them walked, other than the fake goddess that appeared, they did not meet any other gods. The entire heavenly palace was cold and lonely, which was a little different than what Long Fei had imagined. Can it be just a fake Empyrean god? If it's just a fake Empyrean god, then we should be able to kill him and complete the mission. Long Fei muttered. They had already been in the secret world for a day. In other words, the registration for the inner sect examination is up in 2 days. He had to get back. Just as Long Fei was thinking about this, the center of Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's brows tightened. He suddenly stopped and said, "Something is approaching." Long Fei immediately stopped. The idea moved, sensing his spirit energy. Nothing. He did not sense anything approaching him. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said lightly, it disappeared. Following that, she continued to walk and would be surprised from time to time. Every time when Long Fei sensed his surroundings, she would say that she had disappeared. This made Long Fei a little irritated. The two of them walked to a large hall. Ling Xiao Palace. Long Fei looked at the few words in the hall and said, "Damn, why do I feel like this hall's name is a little familiar?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said lightly, "There are a lot of special auras inside, they should be around the same as the fake god I just met." Long Fei moved, wanting to sense them, but was stopped by the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, saying, "Your senses of the idea will wake them up." Long Fei was displeased. "If I'm about to wake up, then I'm going to wake up. Since Laozi came here to kill them all, would they be lying on the bed waiting for me to kill them all?" He had no time to waste. Since it was the Heaven Punisher, it meant killing all the Empyrean gods here. True or false, it didn't matter. Thus, not only did Long Fei not retract his sense for the idea, he walked towards Ling Xiao Palace in large strides, roared deeply, and said, "Come out and accept your death." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's eyes darkened, and said, "Are you going to kill yourself? You will wake them all up this way. What if there really is a god of heaven inside? What will you do then?" Obviously, the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was also unable to confirm whether or not there really was a god here. Even if there was no real god, it would be hard for many fake god to deal with them. It was not bad that she was very strong. However, she was not a deity who had descended to the mortal world, but was reincarnated for reincarnation. She had to be careful in this mission. But she didn't expect Long Fei to be so reckless. Bang, bang, bang. With a single step, he strode towards the entrance of the palace. Long Fei's gaze swept across the place and his expression darkened slightly before he suddenly stopped. The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman hurriedly walked over and said in a low voice, "I told you before, not to be so loud, you are not waiting for him to finish." Gudong. Long Fei swallowed hard, looked at every single one of Ling Xiao Palace's disciples, and his eyes began to shine as he said, "So many bosses, we're rich, ha ha ha." Ling Xiao Palace. Many statues of Empyrean gods were erected on both sides of the palace. There were several rows of statues behind the statue of the god of heaven. It was smaller, and the golden light it emitted was thinner. The statue of the god of heaven on both sides of the hall was extraordinarily powerful, and the golden light surrounding it was extremely dazzling. It felt like he was appearing in the heavenly court in a mythical movie. At the very top of the great hall, on a 9-dragon chair, sat a man wearing a yellow robe and an imperial crown. The domineering aura of a ruler of 9 or 5 years. Just a single glance was sufficient to cause one to feel respect for him. At this moment, they couldn't help but want to kneel on the floor. The pressure in his heart was incomparably strong. Even the statue. The important point. The light that shone from his body was different. It was as if the light emitted by the statue of the god of heaven on both sides of the hall was just a little bit more intense. Then, the light emitted by the emperor sitting on the 9-dragon's seat would penetrate the heart, shock the mind, and cause one's knees to involuntarily tremble. The light was completely different. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's knees were trembling as she struggled to take a step back. Her voice was like a mosquito's as she said, "Go, go, go." There was fear in his voice. When she met fake God just now, she didn't have the slightest bit of fear, but now, she was terrified. Clearly, there really was an incredible Empyrean god within the palace. Long Fei shot a glance at him and said, "Leave? If I don't turn this place upside down, I won't leave. You can still walk after entering the boss lair." Long Fei had always wanted to meet a group of bosses in his life. Immediately, Long Fei stepped into the Ling Xiao Hall. At this moment, buzz! A beam of light shot out from the Hall of Soaring Heavens and activated all of the statues in the hall, causing their bodies to start moving. At the same time, a thick voice filled with divine might came crashing down. Who is the one who doesn't kneel before Ling Xiao Palace? Long Fei laughed and said, "Your ancestor me." Your ancestor me. Long Fei replied heavily. Your ancestor me. Long Fei replied heavily. This voice caused a huge commotion in the main hall. It was as if the whole world was boiling over at once. How dare you? How dare you? Where did this scumbag come from? How dare he act rashly in Ling Xiao Palace? You must be tired of living. Voices after voices brought along streams of divine might as they assaulted towards Long Fei. That pressure was visible with the naked eye, as if a divine light that was capable of overturning the heavens had exploded above Long Fei's head. In an instant, all of the divine might in the hall rumbled into Long Fei's body. How powerful was his true pressure? Let alone a human, even a divine beast would probably be grinded to smithereens. The pride and amp, cool woman's face sank, and wanted to grab onto Long Fei's arm to run away. The pressure was too strong, unable to resist at all. She really did not think that Long Fei would actually be so arrogant. Was there such a person? This was not arrogance, this was more like a retard. Even if he wanted to clear the level, he couldn't mess around like this. What was this called? This was what it meant to force oneself to a dead end. When pride and amp, cool woman heard Long Fei say your ancestor her scalp went numb. However, she did not catch Long Fei. Long Fei took a few steps forward, his two eyes staring at the 10 powerful divine might pressing down on him. He rubbed his nose, and said, F***CK. Just you guys. It was even more crazy. Pride and amp, cool woman was completely confused by Long Fei as he said angrily, "Can you stop acting cool? Is this a place where you can act cool? There really is an Empyrean god here. The real god's powerhouse. What are you doing fooling around here? Run." Pride and amp, cool woman wanted to die. Long Fei asked, "Are you crazy? This is called madness. Then you should see me, who's even crazier." Facing dozens of attacks from divine might, Long Fei's body sank and the idea moved. Level 4 ancient dragon body, activate for me. Boom. A loud explosion resounded. A huge dragon emerged and directly covered Long Fei's entire body. Dragons roared. Dragon power instantly burst forth. Roar! Roar! Release him. The divine might that was assaulting Long Fei was immediately broken and crushed one after another. It was completely unable to withstand the crushing pressure of his dragon might. Long Fei smirked and laughed, "If you have the strength, then you aren't called arrogant. You're called using your true colors." Pride and amp, cool woman looked at Long Fei and said, "You think you're strong? Even if you're from the dragon race, you're just a reincarnated body of the dragon race. Your dragon might have some skills, but your cultivation is only at the first level of Sword Saint. How much of the power did you display before your reincarnation? Even if you can use all of your power, do you think you can block the Empyrean god? When ancient antiquity saw you unleash your dragon's might, I felt that you were not ordinary at all, and felt that you had met someone who could work hard together. But," Pride and amp, cool woman laughed coldly, "in my opinion, you're just a brash braggart, and a braggart one at that. You really disappoint me. I'm so disappointed. Have you forgotten why you chose to reincarnate? After reincarnating, cultivation will be rebuilt, and every step will be taken in advance. Every step must be firm and unyielding, but I'm just making fun of your own life." Pride and amp, cool woman had a face full of disappointment. Seeing Long Fei's posturing, she was really disappointed. No wonder the previous overlord race would be reduced to such a state now. It means that there are more people like you who like to show off, and people who like to act cool. Do you think I would like someone who likes to put on an act and doesn't know his place? They talked a lot. Pride and amp, cool woman's expression was very disappointed, but she was also very angry. From her point of view, Long Fei wanted to show off in front of her and win her favor. In her previous life, there were many men who competed against her just to get her to smile and be intimate with her. She hated this sort of popinjay. Thus, she had never looked down on those who teased her or those who thought themselves to be arrogant. She had even killed them directly. There should be fewer such people in the world. Long Fei's current performance was the same as those popinjays. Just to show himself. Long Fei was even more brainless, because he didn't know what kind of opponent he was going to face. Long Fei was stunned by his words. He was a little unclear about the situation, and when he saw Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's angry look, he could not help but say, "Do you think that I'm pretending like this because of you? You think I'm like this because I want to be liked by you? You really think so?" Long Fei laughed, then said, "You are indeed beautiful, with a good figure, making people wish that they could take care of you with just a glance, but you are so beautiful. What kind of woman have I, Long Fei, never seen in my life? My women are countless times more beautiful than you. Do you think I need to show off in front of you? I think you should recognize yourself. Not all men approach you to get your love. At least, I'm not. What I want is not what I like, but your body," Long Fei said very straightforwardly, clearly revealing his own thoughts. The average man's thoughts are in the lower half of his body. Especially when he met beautiful girls, he would only use his lower body to think. However, Long Fei would never forget who he was just because of a woman he had interacted with for a few days. "You can think that I am very arrogant and conceited, and have no idea how high the heavens are and how deep the earth is, but I find all this a bit ridiculous." The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman sneered and said, "Laughable? I wonder who's the funniest." Long Fei glanced at him, and said indifferently, "Look carefully." His body sank. The aura on Long Fei's body changed once again as he roared in his heart, "Rank 5 ancient dragon body, roar." The phantom looked as if it was real, and one of the dragons looked even more ferocious. Long Fei's body was shining brightly anyway. The domineering might of the dragon shook the entire soaring sky hall. Impudent. A puny human dares to behave so atrociously in Lingxiao Hall? Come on. Kill him. The Empyrean god seated on the chair let out a loud shout. Immediately, the surrounding gods all rushed towards Long Fei, releasing all sorts of powerful techniques. The pressure covered the sky, and all the big moves covered the sky, striking towards Long Fei. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman smiled coldly, not showing any intention of helping. "Let me see it clearly. I'm watching you now. Let's see how you die. Isn't it better to keep a low profile? You just have to continue acting cool. I'll see how you continue acting cool now." Even if the aura on Long Fei's body became stronger, she did not think that Long Fei could withstand this wave of attack. Long Fei was already very angry in his heart. Hearing what Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, the anger in his heart burned even hotter. Damn it. Long Fei's gaze darkened as the divine lightning in his hand moved. His gaze swept across the hall, locking onto all the deities charging towards him, and he said with a heavy voice, "One wave rush." Arrogant. Arrogant. Acting cool. Without strength, perhaps it really was like this. But what if he had the strength? To the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, Long Fei just wanted to show off in front of her and get her approval. This was a method usually used by many men. If you want to get the favor of a woman, then you have to act cool. In her eyes, Long Fei was just like that. This made Long Fei very unhappy. With the divine lightning in his hand, he activated the ancient dragon body of the 5th level, facing all the deities in the hall, his body sinking, one wave rush. He instantly charged forward. At the same time, the entire palace was filled with heavenly gods who unleashed all kinds of powerful attacks towards Long Fei. For a moment, the entire hall was filled with explosions and explosions. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said coldly, "Although these gods are all fake goddess, you." Haha. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman smiled, then turned to leave. Bam. First kill. Long Fei shouted softly. The body of the Empyrean god next to him began to rapidly shrink. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman paused slightly. Bam! Second kill. Long Fei's voice rose a little, and another heavenly god fell. Bam! Third killing strike. Long Fei's voice became louder, as a heavenly god fell. Ding! 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 The system beeps also continuously rang out. Every time he attacked, a divine spirit would fall. The destructive power of the divine lightning was vividly displayed, and it was like a god-slaying blade in Long Fei's hands. Everywhere he went, other than death, it was also death. Bang, bang, bang. The Empyrean god continued to collapse. The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, who was initially prepared to leave, stopped and turned around. Seeing the dazed look in Long Fei's eyes, and seeing the gods fall one after another, her little face was a little uncomfortable. His heart was twisted. His face was burning. She never thought that Long Fei could kill so many fake god. The force of the explosion shocked her. However, even so, she didn't think that Long Fei could win. This was because the people he killed were all from fake god, and they were not real gods. They did not have the ability of a god either, but there was one in the middle of the hall. He was the Emperor of the Nine Dragons' throne. His aura was completely different from the light. He was a true god. Even if Long Fei could kill all these fake goddess, it would be useless. Thinking of this, the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman calmed down. His eyes were also somewhat cold as he looked at Long Fei, and said, "If you want to prove yourself, you've already done it. You still have a chance to retreat right now." Long Fei replied with 2 words, "He." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman still felt that his ego was good. Her tone made Long Fei very uncomfortable. Boom. One of the Empyrean gods had his head pierced through by divine lightning. 17th kill. Bang, bang, bang. The might of a dragon burst forth, the powerful force filling the entire hall. 1 kill 1 pair kill. Long Fei did not retreat a single step. Bang, bang, bang. A few seconds later, one by one, the Empyrean gods within the palace began to collapse. Dozens of Empyrean gods had all perished. All that was left on the ground were the sets of armor. In the end, only the Emperor remained on the throne of the 9 dragons. He stared at Long Fei with his gloomy eyes. He did not seem to care about the death of the fake goddess at all. Long Fei stood in the middle of the main palace, and also looked at the Emperor. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, "He is a true god. Don't think that just because you possess the power of a dragon that you can contend against him. You are not his match at all." In her heart, she didn't want to see Long Fei throw his life away. At least Long Fei was still someone from the divine space. However, these words of hers were still extremely unpleasant to Long Fei, who lightly said, "Didn't you leave already? Why is he still here?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, "I am only reminding you, if you don't leave now, you will die here." Long Fei said, "Is it related to you?" The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was at a loss for words, and angrily shouted, "You." Long Fei asked, "What's wrong with me? I like to act cool, that's what I like. What's wrong?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman sneered, and said, "Fine, if you like it, then send yourself to death. Now I know why such a powerful dragon clan became such a tyrant. It's because there are more people like you." Long Fei tightened his brow and gritted his teeth. He was of the dragon race, he cultivated the ancient dragon body, he did not like others saying that the dragon race was wrong. In an instant, Long Fei's gaze was tightly locked, staring at the Emperor on the 9 Dragon Emperor's throne. He made a move. Bam! His figure dashed out explosively. Shua! Roar! The entire palace hall was trembling from the raging dragon aura. With a swing of the dragon head, it smashed towards the 9 Dragons' throne. 9 Dragon King was furious. He flipped his right hand and threw out his yellow robe. Boom! An extremely strong wave of energy struck over, smashing right into Long Fei's body. Long Fei's body was directly swept away. His body sank and steadied itself in the air. His body floated in the air and his legs sank. Roar! The colossal dragon roared. Long Fei rushed towards the 9 Dragon King once again. Bam! With another sweep of his sleeve, a powerful force came crashing down. Buzz! The enormous dragon silhouette shook slightly, and Long Fei's body heavily landed on the ground. After continuously exploding backwards, his internal organs shook, and felt extremely uncomfortable. Unhappy. Pride and Amp. Cool Woman's eyes carried contempt as he chuckled. MMP. Long Fei shouted a vulgarity as he put away the divine lightning, and lowered his right arm. Bang! The infinite boxing appeared on his fist. Explode. The power of the ancient dragon body of the 5th level erupted, causing his sea of consciousness to tremble slightly. The dragon body of the 5th level exceeded the limits of what his body could handle. There is a time limit. And it will be backfired. Super power boxing. His right arm exploded with power. Bang! The ground cracked. Long Fei rose from the ground and instantly rushed in front of 9 Dragon King, throwing out a heavy punch. Ah! Roar. The dragon's roar shook, and the power on his fist burst out a golden light. 9 Dragon King looked at him with contempt, and swung his sleeves anyway. Bam! Long Fei threw a punch. Hualolo. The god's power of the 9 Dragon King shattered as Long Fei passed through it. His eyes revealed excitement. Get down. With his strength broken, would the 9 Dragon King be able to handle it? But 9 Dragon King sat on his seat motionlessly. He didn't even blink his eyes as he watched Long Fei's fist land on him. Buzz. Rumble. Boom. 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 The dense power from his body surged out, and directly blocked Long Fei's fist, and was unable to move an inch. Ah! Long Fei retracted his fist and punched again. But it was the same. The 9 Dragon King did not move at all. His fist was still only 10 centimeters away from the center of his brows, but these 10 centimeters. It just couldn't go down. His strength was too strong. Moreover, at this moment, 9 Dragon King's pupils slightly shrank. Golden divine power surged from his body and shook. Boom. Long Fei was flung backwards, falling heavily on the ground as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Even if he was sitting there, he wouldn't be able to beat him. Even if he was sitting there, he wouldn't be able to beat him. Was this the power of a god? A little bit fierce. When Pride and Amp, Cool Woman saw Long Fei's bloody eyes, he said, I knew you weren't my opponent. Let's go, there's still a chance now. Long Fei crawled up from the ground, and didn't look at the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman at all. Once again walking to the center of the hall, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he looked at 9 Dragon King and said, You have some strength. The 9 Dragon King said coldly, Seeing as you are a person who has gone down to train in the divine space and left you with your little life, it is still too late for you to leave. Those who choose to go down to the mortal world to train did not have a simple background. It was not that the powerhouse of the divine space was unsatisfied with his cultivation, he could even reincarnate and cultivate once more if he wanted to. The reincarnation process required a huge price to complete. It was very obvious that the 9 Dragon King didn't want to kill Long Fei. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only defended himself against the previous 2 strikes. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman hurriedly entered the hall, grabbing onto Long Fei's arm and said, Let's go. Long Fei immediately struggled free, and ignored the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman, saying, If I don't kill you, how can I leave? 9 Dragon King's eyes narrowed, and said solemnly, Brat, are you challenging my bottom line? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked at Long Fei and said, If I said I would hurt your self-esteem, then I will apologize to you right now. Will you leave with me now? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was very sincere. She did not wish for Long Fei to die here, since she was also a person who had gone down to train in the divine space. Her attitude changed. However, the words that she said were still imprinted in Long Fei's mind, and he said, You're not optimistic about me? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, This is not a matter of whether we are optimistic or not, this is a matter of the difference in strength. This is the mortal world, both of us are people who have undergone recultivation, and our strength has not reached a certain level. He's a true Empyrean god. He said just now that he could let you go. What do you want now? Long Fei asked, Are you feeling sorry for me? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman looked at Long Fei and said angrily, You. Long Fei smirked and laughed wickedly, Let's make a bet. If I can kill him with this move, Will you stay with me for the night? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman glared at him. Do you really want to die that badly? Long Fei asked, do you want to bet or not? Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's face was filled with anger as he said, what if you lose? Long Fei said, you can do anything you want to me. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman said, all right, if you lose, you can become my slave. You'll be at my command for the rest of your life. Long Fei replied, no problem. Nine Dragon King laughed, and said, brat, you really don't know your place, killing me in one move? Ha ha ha. It's the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. With just you. Ha ha ha. Nine Dragon King laughed crazily. He suddenly stopped laughing and his pupils shrank as he said, how dare a little reincarnated member of the Dragon Clan act so arrogantly in front of me? Even Long Wushan would not dare to look down on me in such a manner. Kid. You make me angry. So. The next move will make you pay the price of looking down on me. As soon as he finished. Bam! The dragon robe flapped and an explosive sound rang out. Streams of power that were golden in color shot out from the mist, as if they had entered a berserk state. His strength was completely different from before. Long Fei's eyes also darkened. Staring at the Nine Dragon King, he said, one move. One move. Su Yun's body sank slightly. The idea moved and asked, Dragon Kwong, is it really okay? Long Kwangdao, don't worry, the destruction law that you obtained was enough to instantly kill him. He is only a third-grade divine beast. In this world, his power has been amplified. If it was the divine space, he would be just a piece of trash. Long Kwong said in disdain. The power system of the divine space was different. Although the Nine Dragon King seemed very strong, he was not even considered trash when compared to the powerhouses. The idea moved. Long Fei released the destruction law. It wrapped itself around the infinite boxing. At the same time, this was a Dao technique that he obtained from killing destroying eyes, a one-time use item. He originally wanted to leave it for Emperor Xian, but if a level 5 dragon body was unable to deal with the Nine Dragon King, then he could only use this move. Release. Bam! The destruction law was released, the energy on the infinite boxing surged, and the entire hall's aura suddenly changed. Ling Xiao Hall was as though it was surrounded by death itself. The surroundings of Nine Dragon King's eyes tightened as he said in a heavy voice, You are. Who are you? This is the power you brought down from the divine space. He became nervous. Even the eyes of the Pride and Amp, Cool Woman turned sinister. This isn't the power of the dragon race. Bam! Long Fei's figure blurred and instantly appeared in front of Nine Dragon King, the power of the destruction law wreaking havoc. The Nine Dragon King glared at him furiously. The nine-headed flood dragon on top of the Nine Dragons' throne also roared crazily as the god's power burst out explosively. Destroy. Rumble. Long Fei punched down. Hualala. Crisp sounds of explosions rang out. The power of the Nine Dragon King was instantly swallowed up by the destruction law. The power of the Nine Dragon King continued to shatter. Don't kill me. Under the Dao technique, Nine Dragon King's body was trembling. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, If I didn't kill you, how would I win? If I did, she would accompany me throughout the night. Ha ha ha. The punch was filled with rage. Die. The fist broke through everything. The fist struck out at the center of Nine Dragon King's brows, the power of the destruction law enveloping the entire Nine Dragon King. In an instant, a long gash of blood appeared on Nine Dragon King's head. It became 0. Instant kill. Clang. With a sound, the Emperor's hat on top of Nine Dragon King's head fell off, directly rolling to the center of the hall. Nine Dragon King's entire body was completely swallowed up by the destruction law. Long Fei was extremely shocked in his heart. The system's description is indeed correct. This destruction law. It really is an instant kill. If only I had a few more. Sigh. Long Fei's heart ached. He had used up such a strong power, how could he not feel pain? At this time. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Nine Dragon King. Do you wish to absorb its realm? A third stage Nine Dragon King deity, As long as they could take in his level, they could be said to be unstoppable in the mortal world. No one would be able to hurt a single hair on his body. Without a doubt, this was a huge temptation. Gudong. Long Fei also swallowed his saliva heavily, and said, "No." The prompt for the capture level disappeared. Long Fei felt his heart ache again, my heavenly god of the third rank. At the same time, the system beep sounded again. Ding. A notification sounded. A notification sounded. Long Fei's mind was moved. He thought, I have already given up my chance to become a god, you have to give me something good, I will depend on you. Amitabha. This was Long Fei's first time killing a god, and also his first time becoming a third-grade god. Disposable items. Possessing unparalleled strength and the power to instantly kill gods in the mortal world, it could be said how powerful was this power. Master System, I'm counting on you. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Strength Provenance Stone. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 9 Dragons Divine Technique. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the 3rd rank Divinity Lattice. Do you wish to fuse it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Rare Source Stones Land. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Rare Source Stone * Water. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Rare Source Stones Wood. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Flesh of the Rare Source Stone. Congratulations to player Kong Fei for obtaining Rare Source Stone Flame. The system beep continued to ring. When the first system beep sounded out, Long Fei was so excited that he almost stopped himself. Strength Provenance Stone. Ha ha ha. The third ore on the infinite boxing. My soul, space, I have already obtained 2 ores. This is the 3rd stone, which is also the one Long Fei wants the most. Power. I want to know when we will gather all 5 ores. Cough cough. This is a bit too much. Long Fei thought of the scene in the movie where he destroyed half of the so-called heroes of the Avenger Alliance disappeared with a snap of his fingers. That scene. It was a little too fierce. Moreover, half of them died with a snap of the fingers. Then, what if he snapped his fingers continuously? What would happen then? Long Fei wanted to know. It didn't matter if the infinite boxing he obtained was the same as the ones in the Avenger Alliance or if the ore was the same. It's also for the best. Long Fei would snap his fingers crazily. If it wasn't the same, then it didn't matter. With all 5 ores gathered, the infinite boxing's strength would at least become stronger, right? Wait until I find a time to insert the 3 raw stones into it. At that time, I'll test the strength of the infinite boxing. Long Fei suppressed his excitement. Check next item. A 3rd grade Empyrean God Spark. This should be a divine spark, right? Long Fei took a glance at the attributes, and his heart tightened. Damn, He was actually able to absorb half of the power of the original owner of the divine spark. Holy *T. This divine spark should be a priceless existence in the world of mortal world, right? Once a 3rd grade deity lattice was merged, one could immediately become a god and enter the divine space. Not only that, one could even absorb half of the 9 Dragon King's cultivation and techniques. A 3rd grade deity was enough to establish himself in the divine space. Each and every one of the holy godhead had been tempered 1,000 times. They had gone through countless trainings, made countless breakthroughs, and had accumulated for countless years to condense a divine spark. This was the most important thing to an Empyrean god. Now that there was a heavenly god spark in his hand, Long Fei felt like he had suddenly become rich. If this heavenly god spark is released, it will probably cause a war with the world of mortal world, right? I'm afraid there isn't a single one in the entire ancient antiquity. Let alone the ancient antiquity, even the higher level heavenly sect did not have this kind of heaven-defying existence. All the warriors in the world of mortal world wanted to enter the divine space. But it was too difficult. Even those Emperor Swordsman's powerhouses could not pass the test. Passing the heavenly god's trial was the only way to enter the divine space. However, in the entire ancient world, Only 1 or 2 people were able to enter the divine space. How difficult was this? How terrifying was the value of such a divine spark? With the 2 rare items on him, Long Fei was a little elated. The strength provenance stone made him excited, while the 3rd-grade divine clone allowed him to become an upstart. Look at the 3rd thing. 9 dragons divine technique? Long Fei muttered, this technique. Long Quang interrupted, this is a dragon's technique, which can be considered a high-level technique of the dragon race. You are currently cultivating the ancient dragon body, so this technique is just right for you. Heh! How could such a person have cultivated the dragon clan's cultivation method? Long Fei asked. Long Quangdao, after you reincarnated, the dragon race went downhill and declined constantly because you were too powerful back then. You destroyed all the ancient families in ancient world and crushed all the other powerhouses to be able to compensate money for treasures and cultivation techniques. In 1,000,000,000,000 years, it's been a great fortune that the dragon race didn't perish. But now that you've come back, the dragon race will certainly regain their glory. Long Quang said, full of spirit, his eyes shining with a golden light, full of confidence. Long Fei uttered softly, oh, don't worry, I'm back. I will take back everything that belongs to the dragon clan. Long Quangdao, as long as you recover your former strength, and when the time comes, tens of thousands of clans will pay their respects to you, crawling at your feet. What is a mere Empress Yen? Back then, you were too strong, and no one was your match. Even those outer space powerhouses were. Seal. Long Fei laughed bitterly and said, outer clan powerhouse? He thought to himself, if Long Batian was really that strong back then he wouldn't only be from the other clans like the S of the Seal, but also killed them all one by one. Evidently, the Long Batian at that time wasn't as strong as Long Quang had said. Otherwise, Long Fei would not have met Emperor Shen's accomplice, which was outer space powerhouse. Long Quang acted as if he knew what Long Fei was thinking, and replied, at the beginning, you also had a reason, but we don't know the specifics. You only said that if you failed the mission, you would have perished, nothing else. It was similar to what the old devil had said. Black and White had once said that Long Fei did not have much time left. They had said that if Long Batian failed, he could not fail again, or else the entire ancient world would disappear. What exactly was it? Long Fei was also unsure, but he was too lazy to think about it right now. How should I cultivate this 9 dragons divine technique? Long Quangdao, the 9 dragon divine technique is divided into 9 stages, each stage is a dragon. Once you cultivate it to the 9th stage, you will be able to release all of the 9 dragons' power. 1 dragon is the power of 1 dragon. It can also be called dragon's power. Although you can release the power of the ancient dragon body, your ancient dragon body has a time limit, so a higher level ancient dragon body will not be beneficial to your body. This 9 dragon divine technique is just enough to make up for that. I will help you when you want to cultivate the strength of 1 dragon. This seems a little interesting. Long Fei nodded, all right. The idea moved, and started cultivating the 9 dragons divine technique. There was an extra skill in the skill bar. 3 things, all of which were holy artifacts. 3 things, all of which were holy artifacts. Furthermore, it was not a holy artifact that the world of mortal world could own. The stones of strength, 3rd grade Empyrean god lattice, and 9 dragons divine technique. Any one of them was an overpowered existence. Other than these, there were also 5 rare source stones. It just so happened to be the metal, wood, water, fire, earth set. This is all prepared for the 5 of them. Long Fei looked at the 5 holy source stones that flickered with different colors. Long Quangdao, these 5 holy source stones can increase his cultivation by 10 years. They have obtained 5 holy source stones, and with the cultivation techniques I mentioned last time, their cultivation will be earth-shattering in less than half a month. Long Fei replied, go back and give it to them. Since he had become sworn brothers, then Long Fei would go all out to help him. If there was anything, he would naturally think of his brother who was beside him. 3 god-level items and 5 special rare source stones. It could be said that the boss dropped very well. Since he changed the system, Long Fei had not felt this good in a long time. This was also the reason why he liked challenging others with high difficulty. The higher the level of the boss, the better. Only then would it be comfortable. After inspecting the items, Long Fei picked up the 9 Dragon King's helmet on the ground and said loudly, "This should be the task goal, right?" Glancing at the Pride and Amp, cool woman at the corner of his eyes, who was still in a daze, Long Fei didn't care that much and kept his helmet back into the space ring. At this moment, Pride and Amp, cool woman's face tensed up. Just now, when Long Fei killed all the fake goddess in one go, she felt her face burning. Now, her face felt as if it had been slapped. It was a little hard to bear. However, in comparison to her discomfort, she was more bewildered and shocked. It was impossible for someone to kill a dead god's powerhouse in the mortal world. Moreover, the 9 Dragon King was still a third-stage god state. Even the reincarnated divine space powerhouse S would not be able to kill a dead god's powerhouse at the level of the Sword Saint. Unless, when he reincarnated, he gained an extremely strong power. Pride and Amp, cool woman looked at Long Fei and his lips moved a few times. He wanted to ask Long Fei what was that power just now. Long Fei turned around and laughed sinisterly. "You didn't think that I would win, right?" The Pride and Amp, cool woman was startled, and immediately thought about the bet she had with Long Fei. If Long Fei killed the 9 Dragon King in one move, she would lose. If he lost, he would have to compensate Long Fei for the entire night. Thinking of this, her eyes turned cold. His complexion turned awful as well. Long Fei said, "What's wrong? Do you want to go back on your words after losing? Have you decided when to spend the night with me?" While they were talking, Long Fei's eyes sized up Pride and Amp, cool woman's body from top to bottom, and then from top to bottom, and stayed at a few special spots for a few more seconds. A lewd look. Long Fei did not hide anything. Pride and Amp, cool woman was indeed beautiful, especially her figure. First level. His legs were too slender, and he was wearing a tight suit that made it almost impossible to control the urge to commit a crime. All this bullshit about love and affection. Just trying to get her into bed. Any man would think so. Pride and Amp, cool woman said fiercely, "Be careful that I don't dig out your eyeballs." Long Fei laughed sinisterly, and said, "It's useless even if you dig out my eyeballs, even if you can't see, you still have to spend the night with me. Don't tell me you like blind people. Damn, my interest is so special. I can cover my eyes with my hands." Long Fei smiled evilly, "Maybe it can be a little interesting." "Ha ha ha." Pride and Amp, cool woman's face flushed red and he angrily shouted, "You." Long Fei said, "I'm willing to admit my loss. When we return to ancient antiquity, I will make sure we get a good room, then you can treat us nicely." Pride and Amp, cool woman wished that he could tear Long Fei apart. Anger was written all over his face. However, she lost. Originally, she looked down on Long Fei and thought that he was just like those other popinjays, who only knew how to act cool and not be pragmatic at all. But then, Long Fei slapped her face. The strength of a single person could sweep through the entire soaring sky hall. Dozens of fake god were killed in a single blow by a third-ranked Empyrean god. Those ridiculing words that she had said towards Long Fei. Now she looked like a joke herself. Just as Long Fei had said, Powerhouse did not need to pretend. Just as Long Fei wanted to continue teasing the Pride and Amp, cool woman, he heard a sudden shout, "Hooah!" The 9 dragons' throne suddenly turned. A secret door appeared. A divine light lingered inside the hidden door as the aura of the divine space faintly emerged. However, this secret door was a bit small, just like a dog hole. The Pride and Amp, cool woman's eyes trembled as he quickly entered the hall. Staring at the secret door, he asked loudly, "The secret world's door to the divine space?" "Really?" Her expression was one of excitement. Long Fei looked at her excited appearance, and muttered, "Go to the divine space." Pride and Amp, cool woman said, "Why are you cultivating? Isn't it to enter the divine space? Now, as long as you walk through that secret door, you will belong to the divine space, so you will no longer have to waste time inside the world of mortal world. Other than the ancient antiquities rewards, The missions of the three gods were the biggest colorful eggs. He took a step forward and became a deity. Step back, adult. At that moment, in front of Long Fei, the distance between man and God was just this door. However, Long Fei was not the least bit interested. He glanced at the door. Do you want me to go in through this dog hole? It was extremely disdainful. This greatly shocked Pride and Amp, cool woman. Not to mention a dog hole, even if they were to crawl under the crotch, most powerhouses would still be willing to give such a chance to do so. Pride and Amp, cool woman said, this is the only shortcut, and this door has a time limit. As long as you enter, you will be able to. Not waiting for her to finish. Long Fei had already walked out of the hall. Completely dismissive. Acting cool? Not at all. If it was just a gate, perhaps Long Fei would step in to take a look, but he couldn't. It was just a dog hole, just like how a powerhouse of the divine space would pity the mortal realm's powerhouse, showing you a dog hole. If you want to enter the divine space, then crawl in from inside the dog hole. This made Long Fei feel extreme disdain. Even if they wanted to enter the divine space, it would be done in broad daylight. They would also need to lift their heads and walk into the divine space with their chests held high. Dog hole? What the heck? Hey. Did you hear me say that this might be the only chance you'll ever have in your life? Pride and Amp, cool woman said anxiously. The world of mortal world was huge, and only 1 or 2 people could enter the divine space in a year. Pride and Amp, cool woman did not want Long Fei to miss out. However, Long Fei did not even look back as he walked out and asked, are you leaving? If you don't leave, I'll leave. Drill a dog hole? Was this a gift from the divine space? If he wanted to enter the divine space, Long Fei would have to rely on his own strength, and not burrow into dog holes. Facing this path of God Long Fei, he did not have any hesitation. Forget about a dog hole, even if it was just a gate, he wouldn't go in. At this moment, he wasn't ready. Upon entering the ancient world, he discovered that this world was stronger than he had expected, and the Emperor Xian would definitely be stronger than he had expected. Now that the Emperor Xian was standing in front of him, he wasn't 100% sure that he could kill him. Moreover, although his father was in the hands of the Emperor Xian, he knew clearly in his heart that if he didn't die, his father would be safe. He wanted revenge, but this time, Long Fei wanted to overturn it once. Absolutely do not let Emperor Xian return me to my original form again. Long Fei was only in the world of mortal world, and there was an even higher plane of existence in ancient world, the divine space. That was the place where the ancient strong gathered, the highest point in this world. Even if he were to enter now, he might not be able to do much. He needed more experience. He had already walked out of the Great Hall and Pride and Amp, cool woman was still standing in the middle of it. Looking at the dark entrance, her expression was complicated. After a long time, she watched as the door of the divine wonderland slowly closed and disappeared. The entire Kowloon throne returned to its original position. Huff. Pride and Amp, cool woman let out a light breath, turned around and left the Great Hall. He quickly chased up to Long Fei and said, I have lost a chance to become a god. Long Fei said, with my life, I have the chance. He believed in himself. As long as you work hard, you will definitely be able to enter the divine space. Long Fei looked at Pride and Amp, cool woman and asked, you also had the chance to go in just now, why didn't you go in? It was obvious that the Pride and Amp, cool woman really wanted to go in. Because she felt that retraining in the world of mortal world would not help her much. She wanted to return to the divine space early. Pride and Amp, cool woman sank into deep thought. She did not know the answer herself. Long Fei laughed sinisterly, if you went in just now, then you wouldn't have to accompany me for the night. Since you didn't go in, then tonight. You can't have really fallen for me, right? Even if you like me, you still won't leave. Pride and Amp, cool woman's eyes turned cold, filled with killing intent, and said solemnly, don't think that just because you killed a third-grade deity that you were powerful. You have the power that you brought down, and I have it too, and it's not any weaker than yours. Humph. Very powerful. She also had a special power brought down by the divine space. This was something that every divine space powerhouse who chose to reincarnate would do, and it carried a special power. Long Fei was not afraid, and said, willing to admit defeat, "Don't tell me you want to go back on your words. No matter what, you are someone who came down from the divine space. Do you have any credibility? How do you expect us commoners of the world of mortal world to view your s? Once word of this gets out, wouldn't it embarrass your divine space powerhouse?" Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's pupils constricted. In the end, he slowly relaxed and let out a heavy sigh. "Okay, I'll accompany you for the night, but if you dare to touch me, I'll break your third leg." Both of his eyes were gloomy and cold, showing a sinister killing intent, and his gaze was fixated between Long Fei's legs. Long Fei pretended to be scared and retreated, asking sinisterly, "Third leg? Do you know how big I am? Did you peek at me taking a bath? Just tell me the next time you want to see it. It's not good to be sneaky." Pride and Amp, Cool Woman's face flushed red as he struck a palm towards Long Fei. Long Fei took the opportunity to dodge, jumped to a distance of 10 meters, and said, "Did you get to your sore spot? Are you angry?" The Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was even more furious. At this moment, rumble, 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 boom, 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 boom. The entire secret world began to crack. Long Fei's expression tensed up, and immediately became serious. He said, "Accompany me for a night and talk about it when you get back. Leave now, even the secret world S from the 3 great god missions will collapse. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to escape." The collapse of Secret World was not a small matter. Every single secret world was equivalent to a small plane, and the destruction brought about by a plane collapsing would devour everything. If he didn't leave, he could only die here. Even if it was the gods' powerhouse S themselves, they would still not be able to withstand it. Pride and Amp, Cool Woman was also very clear about this, so he did not attack Long Fei again. He quickly ran in front of Long Fei and said, "Hurry up, I don't want to die here." Long Fei also quickly flew to the exit. Ancient Antiquity, Main Hall. In the Great Elder's secret room. His expression suddenly changed. Completed. Why? How is that possible? Someone has actually completed this mission. His face was filled with shock. He was shocked beyond belief. Looking at a round ball in the secret room, he saw that the secret world in the ball had collapsed. It looked like a miniature projection. It was just that. He could only see the collapse of the secret world but could not see the people within the secret world. Who is it? The Great Elder became excited. Are they inner or outer disciples? It should be impossible for outer court disciples. It must be an inner court disciple. Even if it's an inner court disciple, it's too unthinkable. This kind of person is only possible if it's someone with great luck. Mission accomplished. That should be flying into the divine space, right? This task was issued by him. Actually, he was just a publisher, and the real master behind this quest was a certain master of the divine space. He was just a substitute for the announcement. Now that the mission was completed, the person who completed the mission should have already entered the divine space. His eyes were filled with envy. Divine space. To the warriors of the world of mortal world, this was their goal. A place that one would dream of entering. He had once entered the divine space, that place. To him, it was heaven. He was also trying hard. But, with such limited talent, no matter how hard he tried, it would all be in vain. The reason he was able to enter the divine space was also because he was the divine space's envoy. Now that the mission was complete, there was definitely someone who entered the divine space. The great clan elder said excitedly, "There's one more powerhouse from the divine space. This year, I'm afraid. The Lord of the divine space is about to come." The image of Liu Luoshi appeared in his mind, and with a smile, he thought to himself, if there is no surprise, Master God has set his eyes on her, she will definitely be selected, and she will not need to undergo any tests to enter the divine space. This way, my ancient antiquity will have 2 disciples that will enter the divine space, ha ha ha. This is so grand. The fact that disciples could enter the divine space would help the sect's strength greatly. If 2 disciples were to enter the divine space in a year, it would be an incredible feat that scene. The great elder felt excited just thinking about it. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.